Hello and welcome to the ISCA Thursday Cup Super Series here with the General Tire 313 or 313, meaning, of course, the miles that we have here at Big Bad Talladega. 2.66 of miles of high-octane action. This place is the biggest track, I do believe, on the NASCAR Series circuit. So definitely going to be an exciting race to see how fast these guys can get these cars up to speed. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I got Big Al in the booth here tonight. Of course, Big Al, Talladega, this is right in your stomping grounds. How you feeling about it?
Man, I'm feeling pretty good, Brian. I tell you what, I get excited every year about this time because I know that just means it's time to be back at Talladega. And like the sign says, Brian, it's not a race, it's Talladega. And man, we've got 25 cars lined up here tonight. This is a playoff race, so it has playoff implications, and Big Al's excited.
No, it has definitely some playoff implications. I do believe the race next week, though, is actually the cut-off race, of course, at the Charlotte Roval. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. What different tracks these are, Talladega versus the road course hybrid of Charlotte Roval, of course. Definitely going to be excited to see. But I think this is going to be a points opportunity for some drivers to possibly lock themselves into the next round through a win.
Well,
let's take a look at the, of course, race facts here of tonight's race. Of course, we talked about it being 313 miles. Of course, 118 laps here tonight, so quite a long race we have before us here. Stages are going to be 25 and 55. 4 sets of tires, 5 altogether, of course, 4 in the pits. Fuel window is 42 laps, and it's an estimate, Brian, was a little bit of a note that Kenny Powell has left me because of my grumbling that I was doing last week, right, Big Al?
Indeed.
Well, let's take a quick look at the point standings coming into tonight's race. We talked about next week at the Charlotte Roval being pretty much the cutoff race. Well, let's take a look at the points here right now coming into this race and see who's really going to need to get a win. Of course, Patrick Gitter, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, won last week. Of course, is 88 points above the cut line right now. Second place, Brandon Pasalacqua. He's in second place just based on points alone. Third place, Chris Johnson. Fourth place, Brian Johnson. Fifth place, Shane Parrish. Matt DeCiani's in sixth. Darren Mullins is in seventh. He's two points above the cut line. Eighth place, Randy Mullins. He is pretty much right on the cut line, tied with Josh Schaffner points-wise. Schaffner sitting, I do believe, right on that cut line. And, of course, looking at a little bit further down the points pylon, Kenny Powell, essentially, I'd say he needs to have a good race here tonight. Has not had the best finishes the last few ones. Of course, Ryan Strunk, he is below the cut line by 26 points. And I do believe that is the 12 at the moment that absolutely need a good finish here to pretty much move on. I mean, I think that we see Ryan Strunk, he's probably almost in a must-win here.
Yeah, Brian, and that's not where you want to be. I mean, because here's the deal, man. Talladega is going to bring out some very bad things and a lot of good drivers, and because everyone feels they have a chance to win this thing, and with that, you got a lot of guys that are going to be out here racing tonight that might not be in the playoffs, so to speak, but they're still going to go out here and try to win this thing.
That's a very good point. I mean, speaking of which, we got a couple new drivers as well. You know, of course, Billy Fitzgerald was a new addition a couple weeks ago, and one tonight that just joined this series. Jerry Walters is in the 62 machine, definitely looking probably to have a good start to his season as well. I mean, so some new faces. Not quite as many drivers in here tonight as we saw last week at Texas. We saw 30 cars make the grid at Texas Motor Speedway. This Talladega, you would think, would bring them all out of the woodwork, but I do believe we're hovering at around a little bit over 25 cars here tonight. So curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, plus, though, this season's coming to an end, so a lot of guys, why go out here and risk it if you don't really get a chance for any biscuits, so to speak. So I think that 25 is a good field, especially for a Talladega race. Maybe that'll keep the shenanigans down to somewhat of a minimum.
I don't know, man. I think we're going to see some shenanigans. I mean, this is such a tough track. I'd say not tough when it comes to difficulty, especially when you're just turning a lap at this place. You know, not like you'd see it at like Darlington or something like that. But this track is still difficult, I'd say, when it comes to being in a pack, 3 wide. Any little momentary lapse in judgment could lead to a massive pileup, and I think that's the big part about this race that is going to be very, very tricky. That all it takes is you to blink, close your eyes for just a moment, and you're going to the right or to the left, and you're hitting someone.
Yep. I mean, and it doesn't take long for things to happen here at Talladega. Unfortunately, your whole entire evening could go up in flames or smoke just like that. Looks like qualifying is coming to an end. We're going to go ahead and step away, see if we can't get a listen to that national anthem of ours. And we'll come back here, guys, and we'll be ready with the starting lineup as well as tonight's feature presentation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports.
Remember what I told all my drivers? Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. Drivers, start your engine!
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
It's more than a slogan. Whether you're on the track or making your own track. General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series race here at Talladega. Of course, we got the grid set for this evening's action. Shane Parrish qualifying on the pole with the 52.898. Of course, starting in second place is Brandon Pasalacqua. Third place is going to be Miller Bonds. Fourth place, Brian Johnson. Fifth place, Darren Mullins. Sixth place, Randy Mullins. So Darren Mullins and Randy Mullins on the same row. How about that? Seventh place, Randy Belk. Mark Sanchez in eighth. Ninth place, Kenny Powell, and Chris Johnson in 10th.
11th place is going to be Patrick Gitter with Greg Wachinski coming in 12th. 13th shows Frank Flores, Jeffrey Souza in 14th. 15th shows Derek Jacobs, Jerry Walters, new driver here to the series, going to be in 16th. Greg Carr, Jeffrey Ford there, 17th and 18th. 19th place, sorry about that. 19th place shows J.C. Evans and Josh Schofter in 20th. Al Kozlowski, 21st. David Centeni in 22nd. 23rd is going to be Billy Fitzgerald, Paul Osen, 24th. Barry Stevens and Alexander Carr round out this 26 car field.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see how these 26 cars fare here at Talladega. One of the most exciting racetracks I'd say we have really on the ISCA schedule. And it's going to be a long one. I mean, 313 miles at this 2.66 mile track, and that equals 118 laps. So quite a long journey these guys are going to be having to take here tonight for sure at high speeds. These guys are going to be hitting almost 200 mile an hour, and all it takes is one bad bump to send them careening into the wall.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations, Shane Parrish, actually getting it done, putting that 66 Mustang on the front row. Lights off on the pace car. He's going to be getting out of the way here, Brian, but now because they have relocated that start-finish line here at Talladega, driver's going to have to take that extended turn there just off of old Mr. Parrish himself. This will be interesting to see how this stacks up through that Geico restart zone.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. This is kind of an anxiety-inducing ride that you're having to take to get to that start-finish line. Pace car goes down pit road quite early, as, of course, the start-finish line is closer to turn one. But here comes the green flag already out here as everybody still double file as they cross the start-finish line. Shane Parrish, so far so good for him, but no line really looking like it has the advantage thus far. I think top line is going to be the faster line. It looks like it's showing that. Brandon Pasalacqua is starting to pull out with the help of teammate Brian Johnson.
And it's going to be interesting to see if these guys actually do try to get up top there and try to make that high line work, or if they're going to actually shift down and try to run the bottom. Now, if these guys do it, let's say single file here to the initial start of this thing, Brian, that will be a little bit different than what we've seen, say, at like Daytona this year, for example.
Yeah, that's definitely a very good point. I mean, whether these guys will go single file, I mean, Daytona kind of a known track where you kind of use that top side, and everybody for the most part single files out. But I don't know if Talladega is going to be the same here. A much wider racetrack. I mean, Daytona, it's hard to go three wide at that track. Here, it's easy. I mean, this place is wide.
Yeah, and we did see Brian Pasalacqua and Brian Johnson, because those guys were with G&G, and we did see them actually dominate that high line, I do believe, the last time we were at Talladega. So this season is going to be interesting to see if they do elect to stay up high, or if they just decided they're going to just run the bottom line. But if you see right now, that high line is actually out there emerging as the one to beat. The 54 car, he ducks down on the inside, and that's kind of going to even up the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a fast hot rod in that 54 machine. Randy Mullins, of course, he jumps down in front of Shane Parrish. Let's see if he's able to get that line moving. It looks like they have kind of energized it a little bit. The 54 seems like he might be a better leader than Shane Parrish is. Now, that's the key point as well. All these guys are in open setups, which means they can adjust the gear ratio that are in these race cars. Some gears are better for leading, and I think Randy Mullins has proven he's got a really good leading gear.
Yeah, definitely, and that's another thing you have to take into consideration. These guys have taken in all of the factors that are going to be coming into play here, especially when it comes down to the draft.
Some cars are going to be better at pushing other drivers. Some guys are going to be better at actually being in front. It looks like Randy Mullins might be one of those guys that are better at being in front. And it looks like Brandon Pasalacqua is struggling to try to get that top line going again. It looks like they get a huge run down the front stretch. Look at this monstrous move that they were able to get. I mean, they looked like they had lost the speed on the high line, but I think they were biding their time. As here comes Chris Johnson. He jumps down to the bottom line. Looks like Paradigm trying to control both lines here.
Now they've actually made a decision. Looks like Paradigm's actually going down to the low line. That high car up top, that's going to be the 29 of Mr. Sanchez, and he's got his G&G teammates, the 5, Greg Wachinski, right behind him, and Jeffrey Souza now behind him. So it looks like that high line now is kind of shrugged off a little bit of speed, and they're going to be trying to get it back to see if they can actually get up there and contest these guys for the lead.
And it looks like they're definitely starting to move. You see the 29, of course, having Greg Wachinski help him out. Of course, I do believe the 29, Mark Sanchez, a new prospect for the G&G group, so looking to be, I do believe, a full-fledged member. And looks like he's definitely earning his stripes here at Talladega right now. As you see Wachinski kind of wiggling, a lot of these drivers starting to wiggle. That's one of the biggest things about Talladega as well. You have to be able to predict that driver ahead of you. There's just so much going on. And so much that you have to really be looking at. You got to be looking at your temperature gauges. You got to be looking at the guy in front of you. Everything is just so important, and it's really easy to get distracted at Talladega.
Yeah, exactly, man. I was in a truck race earlier today, and the guy that was behind me just kept running up on me. And the key to just because you're back there, this is restrictor plate racing. You don't just hold the throttle to the floor. There's a lot more that goes into this than that. You actually there's a method to the madness when it comes to restrictor plate racing.
Now look at this awesome camera view we got here. Of course, showing pretty much we got a drone flying around here with Brandon Pastelacqua. You can just see all these drivers moving up and down, and a lot of these drivers are not really staying as close as they can to that yellow line, and that's another thing that a lot of drivers will do is they will kind of hover a little bit higher than that yellow line to give that driver behind them view of it, because that's one thing that's very difficult as well about Talladega and Daytona tracks like this is visibility.
Yeah, especially at Daytona, you really want that lead car to stay about a foot off of the line or less. But for whatever reason, Talladega, it just doesn't seem like guys really want to get down there and hug that line. For whatever reason, that just doesn't seem to be the preferred move.
Looking on board with Brian Johnson, you can see he's actually getting physical, using that front bumper to beat on the back end of Brandon Pastelacqua, and you can see from his view, he could barely see that yellow line down there. So the visibility in these race cars is quite low, especially when you have a car right out in front of you and you're physically touching it.
Yeah, and everybody right now is seeming to be playing very well with each other, but I'm going to tell you that it's going to start to change. We got like 25 laps scheduled in this stage right now. Currently, we're at lap 7, coming to 8.
Definitely. And Mark Sanchez, though, looking really good, like he's still in control of that top line. They're still able to generate some movement, but not quite able to unseat those Paradigm guys. It looks like they are side by side at the moment for the lead. But it looks like the Paradigm guys, somehow they're in control of this race right now. Shane Parrish, who qualified on the pole, he has already fallen back to almost outside of the top 10. He's back in 10th right now. Of course, he's being pushed by another Ford, but of course a Ford of a different team. That is Miller Bonds.
Yeah, good to see Miller Bonds up here in the top. Miller Bonds, Shane Parrish, these guys are definitely going to be here. I think those are going to be names that we're going to be consistently talking about how good they're doing. But, Brian, Talladega is one of those tracks where I think maybe 10 to go. That's going to be about the time where drivers are actually truly going to put the hammer down. And you can actually move pretty good in the group there. If you get your head to it, you can actually keep those cars pretty close.
No, 100%. I definitely agree. And you're going to see these guys really start to, I think, get a lot more aggressive towards the end of this stage, especially considering how close we are to a cutoff race. I mean, a lot of these drivers are going to be wanting to get as many points as they possibly can, and so I do suspect that a lot of times the stage points can be more valuable than actually winning the race. So I think that these guys are definitely going to start to really move, and we're going to see a lot more intensity, a lot more action. And it might even be starting to heat up already, as I do believe we're coming up closer to 15 laps to go here in stage 1.
Yeah, that top line right now getting itself moving, and it's as the dominant line. 3 cars actually got a move over the bottom line, and that's actually a pretty good run for those guys. Going to be interested to see if they actually do stay up top and run the preferred line, or if they're going to actually drop down and try to get in front of the 6 and the 4.
You can tell Greg Wyszynski's definitely trying to work his best with Mark Sanchez. It looks like, though, Jeffrey Souza deciding to see if he could possibly make another line work here as they drop down in front of, looks like Josh Schaffner, actually. Schaffner was up on the top line, has dropped down in front of his Paradigm teammate, Brandon Pasalakwa. So I do believe we got Mark Sanchez, Greg Wyszynski, and Jeffrey Ford. I think they're all kind of working together, and I think Schaffner kind of utilized those guys, kind of took advantage of that run to get lined up with his Paradigm teammate.
Well, that top line completely fell apart there.
They definitely did. But, of course, the top line still trying to work, though. You see Jeffrey Souza. He's got Kenny Powell behind him and J.C. Evans. And I don't think they're completely done. 3 is one of the magic numbers. I think that's what we've seen. In-plate race is past. You know, it seems like 3 cars can make a line work. And you see Al Kozlowski as well. He's been really fast at these kind of plate tracks as well. So I suspect he's going to be really trying to get that line moving as well, as they are now side by side once again for the lead. Look at this top line go. Jeffrey Souza has got a hot rod underneath him as he, of course, gets moving. Of course, Kenny Powell, very good pusher as well on the super speedways. And it looks like the top line once again generating a massive run. We also see, I do believe, David Centeni up there. And look at this. Al Kozlowski jumps down onto the bottom line. I'll tell you one thing about Al Kozlowski. He is not a fan of pushing anyone, even if it's his own teammate. He drops down to the bottom. He likes to see that clean real estate in front of him. And that's probably, I think, provokes a little bit of ire from his G&G teammates.
Yeah, not just his G&G teammates. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are leery of Kozlowski, we'll just say that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of times, I mean, he's really one of the nicest guys you ever meet, but when it comes to getting on the racetrack, he doesn't like to push you. Of course, the top line, though, has really started moving. I don't think that was a good idea for Kozlowski. I think he made a mistake jumping down there on the bottom line. He's kind of slowing the bottom line down at the moment as we see Souza in control. Looks like we do have a lap car. I'm not sure exactly who that is, but we already have a lap car out on the field, and I think that's actually the 72. Actually, no, that's a 78. That is Steven. I do believe that is Barry Stevens there. Already going a lap down. That's unfortunate. And you can just see how much faster the pack is compared to just one solo car. And he's going to fall in right in front of Paul Olson. So luckily, he's not going to lose the draft. And he will be the lucky dog when I do believe the caution flag comes out for stage number 1.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about drivers kind of, shuffling in front of you when you got a good run? Does that annoy you, or is that something that you kind of welcome?
Well, I mean, I'd say a lot of probably people would say that's annoying, and I would be one of those camp. I mean, but you got to do what you got to do. I think that Barry Stevens did exactly what he needed to do to try to not lose the draft. He filed in where he could fit, and Paul Olson, I think, was patient enough to kind of give him that leeway so he didn't lose the draft. But yeah, no, if you're moving 10 mile an hour slower than someone and you jump in front of that other person, a lot of guys are going to be very upset about that, and it could even be dangerous. It could cause a wreck.
I'm wondering if maybe Kozlowski dropping down there in that bottom line, maybe that was a little bit of a strategy there, Brian, because, I mean, he is considerably slower than those guys up top right now.
No, he definitely is. I mean, I just don't see the point of that strategy because he's slowing down his own teammates. I mean, Mark Sanchez and Greg Wyszynski. Now, if that was a play to help out Kenny Powell, it seems like it's working because Kenny Powell is up into that second place position now. Keep in mind as well, though, Sanchez is not in the playoffs right now. Now, Greg Wyszynski, though, is. So that's another thing to look at. That the guys that are trying to make it to the next round, there could be some strategy plays going on there to try to help out teammates make it to the next round.
With 10 laps to go in this stage, this is go time. This is where you're going to put the throttle down. If you wait any longer to actually make that move, I think it'll be a little too late.
Looks like we got another lap car. That's kind of crazy this early in the race to already see another lap car. That is Alexander Carr. I think he might have missed the start or maybe missed the actual grid. if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, and did not make it onto the grid in time. So unfortunately, he is going to go a lap down as well. Now this kind of complicates things, Big Al, considering Barry Stevens is a lap down as well. That means both of these drivers, or one of them, is going to get the lucky dog, and the other one's not. That kind of creates a little bit of an intensity, as a little bit of a battle for the lap down positions.
Yeah, but you're racing for position no matter where you're at on the racetrack. And that's the thing that's going to throw a lot of these drivers off, because if you got guys that are a lap down, they're going to get to intermingle with the lead lap cars. And even though it might not seem like a big deal now, we saw Kenny Powell actually shove his G&G teammate at the time when Powell was a lap down. So it's just going to be it's going to be interesting just to see how this thing checks out, because honestly, everybody's not going to be on the lead lap as this thing progresses.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, if we get some guys that have some damage and have to stay down there for an extended amount of time, they were going to go a couple laps down. But once they get it fixed, they can come out there and maybe help out their teammates, And that's something we see quite a bit. It looks like Alexander Carr with a little bit of a blinking issue. He is going to fall back to that last place position. It looks like Barry Stevens is probably going to get that lucky dog, but it looks like Carr has lost a draft completely.
Look at where Shane Parrish is in relationship to the world. I mean, he was started on the pole and was leading this thing. Now he finds himself all the way back in 20th position. I don't know if he got shuffled back like that on purpose, but I don't know why you would make that move here.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think he needs points. He definitely probably wants to get as many stage points as he wants, or as he needs some stage points. But the bad thing about it is he's not going to get them, I don't believe, if he stays where he's at. But one thing about these race cars, if you pick the right line, you could be back in the lead very quickly here at Talladega as you see Patrick Gitter moves up to the top.
Yeah, speaking of lines, these lines are actually redrawing themselves as we speak. Now we're going to be 3 wide, and I think we'll be 3 wide for the foreseeable future. These guys now definitely putting themselves in positions that they can actually rally and gain position as well as momentum.
Definitely. You see, of course, Greg Carr kind of in that middle groove. He seems like he's having a tough time holding that middle line. Now, one of the things that's very difficult about that middle line, especially when you're in the middle of the hornet's nest like he is, the turbulent air that is kicking off of that top line, as well as we almost see even 4 wide starting to possibly develop.
Yeah, like I said, it's go time. So if these guys want to actually better their position, they're going to have to put the throttle down and make these cars move up through this traffic to get up to the front. 3 wide racing, got a lot of guys jockeying back and forth. Seems like the front 5, the top 5 are staying together. They got that middle line. Looks like that's what they're all bought into, Brian.
Oh, some contact with the wall a little bit there on that tippity top line. Watch out. This is starting to get a little bit crazy. Would not be surprised if we see maybe a big accident here. When you're 3 wide, it's hard to escape anything that goes wrong here. I saw a couple of the Paradigm drivers that are in that third group kind of tap the wall.
I think these guys are 3 wide by choice, though. I mean, Derek Jacobs being down there, all the way down there on the inside, looks like, if anything, it's causing those guys to lose the draft and slide all the way back. No one buying into that bottom line at all. Seems like the place to be is up top or in the middle.
No, yeah, I think you're right. It looks like the bottom line is definitely starting to lose, I think, momentum in a lot of ways, as you see Jerry Walters follows in behind Randy Belk to try to push him along. But for the most part, it looks like most of these drivers are running in the middle group. Of course, Jeffrey Souza, kind of the Pied Piper at the moment with Kenny Powell in tow. And here comes some more guys moving to the bottom, though. It looks like Josh Schaffner and Pasalakwa both jumping to the bottom.
Well, it's time for those guys to get ready to get their gear in, get their gear to go, because we got 5 laps to go before this one's in the books, and it's go time. If you're going to make a move, now you're going to have to go ahead and stick it out there, Brian, to see exactly if it's worth it or not.
It looks like the bottom line's starting to really get some momentum going. As Souza's kind of being left hanging out to dry. He jumped up in front of Powell. This is going to change the momentum. 4 wide, and there goes an accident. Oh, no.
Powell did actually get into Souza. Souza trying to administer a late block. You really can't do that, man, with the momentum going the way it did. I think we just tore up quite a few cars, and it's going to be interesting to see how this actually has an effect on the stage. Looks like it might be a green-white checker.
Yeah, definitely be curious to see how this affects, of course, stage number 1. Let's take a look back at this crash.
But the white flag is out.
And looking back at this, and you can see, it looks like Souza, of course, like you said, through that block. I don't think Kenny Powell's car reacted well to that.
Yeah, Souza and Keselowski, both recipients of the dreaded repairs required flag. I think that flag might end the stage, Brian.
It could. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we're on lap 22 at the moment, and we see big contact there for J.C. Evans, Mark Sanchez, of course, Patrick Gitter as well, heavily involved in that crash. It was quite a, like you said, we destroyed a couple cars there. But luckily, this next gen is fairly tough. I think some of these drivers are going to be able to limp themselves back to the pits to try to get some of this damage fixed.
Yeah, we're going to hope so, man, because the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to tear up, playoff cars, especially in the first stage of the race. So, unfortunate set of circumstances there, and I'm not going to speculate what did happen, but, you replayed it enough from enough angles, and I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to have their own opinion about it, but and it's hard to do what he just did.
No, 100%, and it's just unfortunate. Watching it through the cockpit camera of Kenny Powell, and you can just see just the pieces of fender and fairing of these race cars flying all over the place. And just definitely, that's going to change I think the results of this event for sure. And so close to the playoffs, you can just, or not the playoffs, of course close to the playoffs as well, but also close to the end of this stage, you can just tell how much these points seem to be on value that these guys are attributing to these points.
Yeah, and there's a lot of action going on down pit road, which is going to lead me to believe that is going to be the end of the stage. I don't know why else you would stay out, especially if there were going to be another caution coming out in such a short period of time. Greg Wyszynski, not sure what he did, but he actually did incur a black flag as well there. Something dealing with his entrance to pit road is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, he might have gotten one. Probably, maybe pit road was closed whenever he went down pit road. Possibly could have been what happened there. A lot of times when you're at tracks like this and you get heavy damage, you're not really concerned about pit road being closed. You're just trying to get down there as quick as you can, so, to try to limit. Because the more laps you do with that damage, a lot of times you do laps with heavy damage, it could get worse. So you want to really go down as soon as you possibly can. I mean, even if pit road's closed. But we'll have to see if the pace car lights go off this time. I think that's going to be the telling if, of course, stage one is in the books. That caution just really badly placed, to be completely honest. As we see Barry Stevens, I do believe, getting his lap back. He's going to be able to get the lucky dong there. But that's just unfortunate. Let's see if we can actually chat. Let's see if we can dial up, I think, Josh Schaffner and see if maybe he knows what's going on, Big Al, if that's going to be the end of the stage.
He said,
Josh Schaffner, we got you up here in the booth. We usually would have took our commercial break, but is that going to be the end of the stage? We were just kind of curious if you were going to be the stage winner.
Not. No, we're going to still race for the stage here.
Okay, so that answers that. We definitely appreciate you letting us bother you for a second. We were wondering
no problem.
What was kind of going on here. That was kind of an ill-timed caution, but if you
I'll be
win
taking
the stage,
the outside here.
All righty. Well, we'll talk to you later, Josh.
Yeah, I kicked him back in.
All right, we hated to bother him at that particular moment. We weren't sure if he was going to be the stage winner or not, but it looks like he has chosen to take the high side. We kind of heard a little bit of that, so definitely glad that he was able to kind of clear that up for us, Big Al. Looks like this is going to be intense. If we have to race this out, this is going to be intense. And I think this is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, a one-lap shootout, Big Al.
There's one to green, and there's going to be two to go is what I'm going to assume. I think next time they come back around, they should take the white flag.
I think so. So a one-lap shootout here. And that, I don't know how that's going to play out, Big Al. We could wreck some more race cars here.
Yeah, that never works out really well for anybody. We saw what happened with 3 to go or 4 to go, so you can only imagine just the not only the anticipation, man, but the nerves. You gotta go. This is what you came here for. So I don't think this is a situation or scenario by which you just kind of lay back and lay off. I think you really got to throttle down.
Yeah, no, I think that it's definitely going to be curious. I think the best play is just going to be to try to stay out of the melee here for sure. Got to give a credit though. Look at Jerry Walters, first time in the ISCA. He's up in 6th place right now, and we got quite a top 10. A lot of drivers up here for sure that I'm sure didn't expect to be up in the top 10, of course. But still, I do believe the majority of the drivers in this series are still on the lead lap. Al Kozlowski, I do believe now 2 laps down. He's probably going to I think he's going to possibly make his way back onto the racetrack. One good thing about these cars, the new damage model, is that you can get them fixed pretty easily as long as you don't have engine damage.
Yeah, he's still getting. He still has the required flag, as Wachowski still has his black flag as well.
Well, here we go. Pace car dipping down pit road as we get ready to have this 1-lap shootout for the stage win. I'm sure the heart rates of these drivers are up through the roof right now as Josh Schaffner goes through the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out, and he goes a little bit early to jump down in front of Paradigm teammate Brandon Pasalacqua, as well as you see David Centeni right there as well as they starting to pull away a little bit here. This is kind of an interesting start as they try to get up to speed for this 1-lap shootout.
And here we go. There's a lead pack breakaway of 4 cars. These guys will be wanting to do everything they can because, Brian, behind them, that's where that freight train is going to occur. That's where those thunderous drafts are going to come. And that's where these guys are going to be trying to make their way up front as fast as possible.
No, I think this is the whole point. I think that's exactly why Schaffner went as early as he did. He was trying to break away from these guys, but I think they're going to come down to the wire here. But I think Schaffner is going to win stage number 1 just barely. As you can see, the big run from David Centeni as well as Randy Belk. We saw Miller Bonds drafting their way up. And I think the caution flag should have already came out, but it looks like maybe we're going to do another lap here. I'm sure that the way that we do have an automated stage caution system here, and it might have thrown a little bit of a wrench into it. As we see 3 wide in the mid-pack right on the edge of the top 10. As we kind of have a breakaway, though. Schaffner and Pasalacqua are pulling away. This is kind of shocking to see. They're definitely sending a message saying, hey, we got 2 fast race cars.
Yeah, that's definitely really good to see because it's going to let us know exactly what lies ahead of us here throughout this race. Because if a 2-car tandem is capable of that type of a breakaway, Brian, I mean, that's what we're going to be looking for. Caution flag still not out.
This is definitely curious that the caution flag has not come out. I think we might be just going to continue to race this thing out till stage number 2. And there it is. Caution flag is out now. Looks like it was probably having to manually be thrown. That was kind of a little bit of I'm sure, a surprise to the rest of these drivers. Luckily, we didn't have any contact. A lot of times surprises brings conflict in the ISCA, but luckily, we didn't see anything too terribly bad, and Josh Schaffner, of course, was still able to win the stage. Brandon Pasalacqua in 2nd place, Miller Bonds 3rd. Chris Johnson, I do believe, got 4th. Greg Carr in 5th. Jerry Walters in 6th. Randy Mullins 7th. Paul Olson 8th. David Centeni 9th, and Mark Sanchez in 10th. With that, we're going to take a brief step away. We'll come back, and we'll talk to Josh Schaffner once again and actually get an actual interview. We'll be back.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
Or there, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel talking, bro. We get a hug, right? What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
Alrighty, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you can see the pit stops are underway here under caution as Josh Schaffner, of course, takes his pit stop. When he gets off of pit road, we'll go ahead and actually have a little bit more of a formal interview rather than the impromptu one we kind of pulled there. It looks like Mark Sanchez, I do believe, just won the race off of pit road here. But let's see if we can go ahead and dial up Mr. Schaffner once again.
How's it going, guys?
Doing good, Josh. I mean, sorry for the impromptu. We were thought maybe you had won the stage there, but it looks like you still did. Walk us through, how that kind of played out. It looked like you and Pasalakwa just have such a good race car here today. You were able to pull away two of you, or maybe even the guys thought the caution flag was going to come out, and then that was the end of the stage. It looks like you guys had to go a little bit longer.
Yeah, we had to go kind of a green-white checker there to finish out the stage, but yeah, kind of had to feel things out here a little bit during the race, and this is actually the first laps I've kind of taken all week. I've had a little bit of a back injury and had to kind of rest all week, but it's nice to be back. But yeah, we had fortune there. We had a big run up the middle with just a few to go there in the stage, and Brent and I got hooked up and drove from, I think, somewhere around maybe 20th to first in a lap or so there. And yeah, the caution came out, and then Brandon worked pretty good there to kind of get through the stage. And I really needed those stage points after missing last week just due to some family commitments. And yeah, great to get the 10 points of the stage, and the playoff point will carry through if we can be fortunate enough to advance. But just couldn't ask for a better first stage. I need that pretty bad.
No, it definitely seemed like you guys got some really good race cars, and I hope your back injury continues to get better. Luckily, Talladega, not too much of a physically intensive type track, but you still have to white knuckle it. Glad to have you back, though, and I know we definitely missed you last week, but, what is the game plan? Like, what kind of strategy you guys playing here? I mean, did y'all really talk it out and strategize?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, I guess as a team, you want to try to work together when you can, but it's hard to do that. You also got to run your race, and we all agree that, we'll work together if we can, but, obviously you got to take advantage of runs when you can and make sure we're all in good positions, and you just want to survive first stage, and was fortunate to get a win and survive stage 2. And then, stage 3 is where the strategy and the teamwork really comes into play, especially if you have a green flag pit stop. But we'll just kind of race this one out again and then see what stage 3 has to bring here in another 25 laps.
All right. Well, I know you guys are getting ready to get back at it. Who can we give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to thank Brian, you guys up in the booth, and obviously want to thank the ISCA and Kenny Powell for all the work he does, and we've had great numbers here and great drivers. Want to thank everyone for coming out, and obviously want to thank the teammates of Paradigm Motorsports, Pioneer Seeds, and just everyone that helps make this thing go week to week.
All right. Well, best of luck to you, Josh, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you at the end of this thing.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Have fun up there.
That was Josh Schaffner, driver of the 50 machine. Of course, definitely fantastic performance so far from him tonight. Didn't know he had a back injury. Wish him all the best in that. Of course, Mark Sanchez up front right now. I do believe going to be leading us to green here momentarily, Big Al.
Yeah, it's got Billy Fitzgerald's going to be down on the inside. Jeffrey Ford's got himself drugged all the way up front as well. So now, Brian, this is where it's going to be interesting to see how this thing takes off. And it's good to hear what Schaffner said. Remember, he said him and his teammate actually drove all the way from 20th to 1st in like a lap. So that's what I'm saying. These cars have tremendous aptitude when you want to just put the hammer down and go.
100%. And, of course, looking at Mark Sanchez and the 20 of Billy Fitzgerald, both of these drivers, I do believe, have about 8 laps on their tires. Now, tires don't mean a lot at Talladega, so don't expect that to really play a role. But they did take advantage of that chance to kind of stay out, considering fuel and tires should not be an issue. Now, one thing that could be an issue, though, is if you look at the front end of Mark Sanchez, he's got a little bit of rear front end damage. I'm wondering how that's going to play out. It's kind of concave a little bit. We'll definitely see if he's going to have the speed in the lead here as they get ready to enter the Geico restart zone. As there it is, green flag is out, and Sanchez goes a little bit earlier than I probably would recommend.
I bet that car is definitely going to be an awesome pusher. I mean,
Yeah,
with that
very
front
much
end
could be.
being low, oh yeah, he's gonna get right up in there underneath that diffuser, baby. He's gonna be the guy that you want behind you. And right now, just like that, that bottom line wasting no time getting organized and gone. Sanchez is going to be up top leading that high line, and these guys are really stacking up like the 440 coming out of Atlanta. Don't quote me on that. I don't even know if there is such a thing.
Well, it looks like a big run, though, from Mark Sanchez up on the top. He got Shane Parrish up into his rear end, and once they kind of generated that run, they started moving on that top side. So it looks like the damage on the front end of Sanchez not holding him back too severely, which is interesting to say. Of course, Billy Fitzgerald, I do believe, leading his first laps, though, in the ISCA. You love to see that.
Well, yeah, now he's in a very precarious situation because if he makes just the wrong move, Brian, he might find himself left out in the cold. But being a new driver, you know, that's not really the best resume to have when you come to a track like Talladega. People like to be around people they trust, like the people they know.
Now, you're really hitting it right on the head right there, Big Al. I mean, this is a track that you really have to put your trust in the drivers around you. And if, you know, no one really trusts you, no one knows you, you're an unknown quantity, a lot of guys are not going to feel as comfortable pushing you. So you got to definitely keep that in mind. And Billy Fitzgerald, I think, is trying to, you know, make somewhat of a good impression, if you will, and trying to build those relationships so next time we do come to a plate track, these guys will be like, hey, I can push him. He's fast. But here comes Jeffrey Ford. He jumps up to the top in front of Sanchez.
A lot of drivers were actually able to get their damage repaired there under that. You know, we did actually have 2 cautions kind of back to back, and that really does help a lot because, man, even though these cars are pretty stout, you want to have as much of your damage knocked out as you can in order to be truly competitive out here. Billy Fitzgerald making that bottom line work for himself as he's got line of about 4 cars that are right behind him, nose to tail. Got lap traffic up ahead. Just going to see how this one's going to play out and affect the run. Lap car's going to go high.
And I do believe that is actually Jeffrey Souza, if I'm not mistaken, in the 14. Of course, he was involved in that last crash with Kenny Powell. Now, Patrick Gitter as well was involved in that crash. He's actually right behind Billy Fitzgerald. Looks like the damage wasn't too severe. I thought he was going to be one that was going to struggle, considering he was, that was quite a violent crash. But it looks like he got very lucky, I'd say very fortunate, as you see Darren Mullins as well doing a great job pushing the 21.
Well, Sanchez has now fell back to second in line up on that high line, and it's not getting the movement that I think that they kind of was hoping that they would have. So going to be interesting to see if the bottom line actually stays low or if some of these guys actually try to go up high to help that line along a little bit.
I'm definitely curious about that as well. This is a kind of a different picture from what we saw in stage 1. I mean, the top to middle groove was kind of the strong line from what we saw, but it looks like from right now, I mean, Fitzgerald is kind of running on the bottom, and everybody else seems very content to do the same thing. But I think we're starting to see maybe some speed being generated back up on the top again. And of course,
that's
Jeffrey Ford trying to make something happen.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome if they actually are able to get a little bit of a run to come up front. But I think once they do start to initialize that run to the front, somebody from the bottom line is probably going to drop up in front and try to take the momentum away.
And, of course, we saw Barry Stevens, who was a lap down earlier in this race during stage 1. He is back up into the fight. He's actually up in 12th. So it shows he had a good race car, but unfortunately had some unfortunate things happen there earlier in stage 1. But he was able to he's in the draft. He's able to compete. And he's sitting right behind Jerry Walters. So glad to see, of course, Stevens actually in the fight and not too bad. A lot of times these guys, I know plate races, I do the same thing, especially in officials, to where you start, you miss the green flag to try to avoid the first crash that takes out a lot of drivers. I think that's kind of what Stevens was trying to do, and it seems like it might have played out well for him, considering he is on the lead lap and did miss that first wreck.
Yeah, that's kind of the play I use as well. You know, I ran an official today, and I started from the pits, and I was thinking, is this even like? I mean, that's kind of cheating, you know what I mean? But I was like, screw it. You don't want to get out there, you know. It's like Black Friday shopping out there on the first lap of Talladega.
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. I mean, why not? Why not go take advantage of Cyber Monday, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
David Centini, though, in control of the top line now. He's, of course, being followed by Jeffrey Ford. I think Centini has got a fast race car. He looks like he's getting that top line back in order as they're coming up on, I do believe, another lap car. And I'm not mistaken, I think that is Al Kozlowski, who is 6 laps down.
Yeah, Kozlowski really took the worst end of that impact of that first crash earlier. Now he is back there, and he's actually staying low. Usually, you know, you want that lap car to go high, so that's kind of interesting that Kozlowski is staying low like that.
Well, I kind of was talking before. It looks like he's going down on the apron here, but I was talking to some guys before the race, and I was like, you know, if you want to stay in the draft, the best way to do that is to stay low. You know, to kind of hug that white line and hope everybody else gets around you, because then whenever they all kind of go back down to the white line, you'll be in their draft. But if you go high, it's a lot harder to get back into the draft, especially in the next gen. The next gen is just so difficult as well to kind of remain in the draft. I mean, the truck, you could be a second or so back and still be able to draft back up, but the next gen is not like that. It's a lot harder to kind of utilize that wake or that draft.
Just had looks like it's going to be Josh Schaffner and Brian Johnson. Those two just jumped up to the high line there. It's going to make that line a little bit more equal. So
look at that, Patrick Gitter making a big move.
Yeah, now you're going to watch these guys, and they're actually just going to rocket ship by that bottom line.
Yeah, so in just a moment, we pretty much just saw everything change. You know, the top line went from being, you know, kind of the bad line to be on, and now it's changed to where you want to kind of be up there. Then again, I mean, the bottom line's being competitive as well. I mean, you see Billy Fitzgerald still getting some runs down there.
All of the Paradigm guys went high. I mean, that's exactly what happened.
You know, but now look at that, Fitzgerald with the aid, I do believe, of Darren Mullins. Darren Mullins seems like he's a really good pusher, kind of keeping that line competitive, as well as Jerry Walters. First time in the ISCA, he's up in the top 3 right now, as we see 3 wide starting to break out here.
Well, Gitter's going to go high, and he's going to allow his Paradigm buddies to go ahead and go low. Brian Johnson's going to take the lead on that train right now. Not sure what's going on with Patrick Gitter as he has slipped back a little bit. And just like that, if you look who's behind him is none other than the 82 car, Jeffrey Ford. And I think Ford actually started this stage up front, didn't he?
He did. He very much did. He started this thing up front and unfortunately has fallen back. And what I think might have happened is it seems like Gitter's car might not be very much handling clean air as good as the other drivers. It seems like as soon as he jumped up in front of the Paradigm drivers, it seemed like he started losing a lot more speed. But whenever he was behind Billy Fitzgerald, it seemed like he was able to hold that speed. So maybe the damage that we saw him get earlier could be causing that car to not be as good in the clean air. I mean, it could be definitely affecting his aero.
Yeah, Derek Jacobs almost got left out in the middle, but ultimately turned the tables in his favor. That's going to leave Gitter out the pasture with Shane Parrish, I do believe, somewhere on his 6.
But Billy Fitzgerald leading a lot of laps right now. You got to give him a lot of credit. He's got a major chance to possibly win him a stage. But then again, the top line is starting to really roll as Derek Jacobs is in the middle. And
still in the middle there.
I think they're going to progress to kind of run more of the middle lanes. So this actually is going to help out Jacobs.
Yeah, Jacobs is definitely, he stuck right there in the middle lane. Did not go. He's got Kenny Powell pushing him in the back. Looks like, I don't know, this sandwich is kind of falling apart up front, though, Brian. I don't know what to call it.
I mean, this is very scary right now as we're looking on board with Jacobs.
There it is. Big contact there. That's going to create a 3-wide situation. We had one car into the wall hard.
I think that, I'm not sure who was that got into the wall, Big Al. We were looking to the cockpit of Jacobs at the time.
David Centeni, I do believe, is going to be the recipient of that Hard Times Award. Green flag
He was
racing
actually
continues.
on pit road. Heavy contact, damn. We might need to look back at this.
Oh, yeah, he definitely smacked that wall pretty good. Green flag racing continues. That's not going to help his cause at all.
We're taking a look back at this incident. You see right there, a little bit of net code between Derek Jacobs and David Centeni, and Centeni up into the outside wall, breaks his right front toe link.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna that's raining on his parade as we speak. That high line, though, still running pretty hard. These guys trying to get up front. Brian Johnson's going to be leading that high line. Derek Jacobs now making his way all the way up into 6th place. He's the 3rd car in that pack up top.
Yeah, I'm sure Centeni probably not too happy with Jacobs right now, but if he looks back at the replay, he'll see there actually was some space in between them. So Jacobs actually did not touch Centeni. And, of course, Jacobs is going to live to fight another day. He's up in the top 5, or top 10 right now, I should say, verging on the top 5.
Ooh-wee. This is getting very sporty up here. Because now these two lines are really starting to get side by side. They're stacking it in pretty good.
And closing in, I do believe, close to 10 laps to go here in stage number 2.
And that's go time. I mean, that is, on a track like Talladega, 10 laps to go, if you're going to be trying to make a move, this is where you're going to have to start putting the first couple steps in that move together.
Yeah, no, this is when you're starting to strategize. You're talking amongst your team, like, hey, let's go ahead and get formatted, right? Like, let's get this plan formatted. Let's get into position and get ready to execute, right?
Oh, yeah, we got another lap car. This car is going to stay high this time. I think that's Jeffrey Souza again.
Yeah, Souza, of course, suffering from some major damage. He's 3 laps down, getting ready to now go 4 laps down. So he is just having a bad day. Had a fast race car here tonight, but unfortunately looks like he has had all the speed pretty much drained out of that car after a huge contact with him and Kenny Powell after a block earlier in the race.
Well, kudos to him, man, for actually staying out there running around, because I'm going to tell you, that would be almost like driving a Prius around this racetrack when you're out there by yourself like that, because it just seems so quiet and so lonely.
Until the hurricane or tornado pretty much comes up on you, which is
and that's what it feels, too.
I mean, this pack is coming up, and it's like a freight train of cars that are going much faster than you just come up, and it can sometimes be pretty terrifying.
Yeah, and it's turbulent. It's just like a tornado.
The only thing is, this is like one of the worst racetracks, Daytona and Talladega, to be out there in a hurt race car and be driving by yourself. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, to be out there by yourself.
Yeah, no, that's not a fun place to be at all. Is that top line now slowly edging up? Now it's going to be side by side with Billy Fitzgerald. Brian Johnson now going to take the lead. Paradigm guys, 2 of them, that's going to be Brian Johnson and Josh Schaffner. These were the guys that were up front at the end of that last stage. I bet you Schaffner wants to duplicate any kind of effort that he had there in stage 1 with stage 2. Got both the Mullins boys up here tonight as well, father and son, running side by side. I'm sure they're going to try to get together as Billy Fitzgerald now gets dropped on by the 2 Paradigm drivers.
Yeah, this is not a surprise. I mean, we saw Josh Schaffner, of course, win stage number 1. Those guys moved from, deep in the pack all the way up to the lead, and very, very quick. It happened very quickly, and so this is not a surprise. You see 3 wide, a little bit further back, Miller Bonds trying to push Patrick Gitter, as well as you see Frank Flores trying to work with Jeffrey Souza. It looks like Souza this time around has caught the draft, so it looks like that car is in good enough shape now that it can hold speed.
If she holds water, man, she'll hold a goat. So I know he's probably smiling right now.
Yeah, because, if we see a lot of wrecks later in this race, he's 4 laps down. If we see, 3 wrecks, of course, he'll probably might be able to get a lap back here on this next stage caution. But if we see some wrecks later in this race, he might be able to even get back on the lead lap. So that's why he's not giving up. as we see even more 3-wide racing going on in the mid-pack. Derek Jacobs leading the middle line, as I do believe, who's that leading the top line? I think that's Brandon Pasalacqua.
And I'm going to tell you what, no matter what, he's going to have to stay away from the wrecks. He can't get caught up in another one and expect it to be okay. A lot of racing left here at Talladega, not a lot of racing left in this stage. So we will be coming up with 6 to go here at the line.
Yeah, and remember though, Big Al, this is when things started to go wrong in that last stage. As we see, of course, the 78 looks like he's getting left out, hanging out to dry. That's Barry Stevens. He's going to get picked up by Miller Bonds. Big wiggles, though, for Barry Stevens. You can tell just a turbulent air. Really not liking that car, not really liking that.
That's why I didn't say, this is where they wrecked. I said 6 to go.
But patterns. A lot of times there's a lot of patterns here. Usually in that 5-lap mark, 5 laps to go on the stage, that's when things start to get wild, crazy, and could get dangerous.
Well, things are shaping up to be a little bit of all 3 of those right here, because now you got that middle line and it is making its way to the front. The outside line, Jeffrey Souza found himself up in front of that with Kenny Powell tucked in behind him. I don't think it's working quite as the way he expected, so now these guys are going to have to do something different. But this is go time, and you got Paradigm versus Paradigm. They're occupying the both first 2 slots of the first 2 rows.
And look at the pushing ability I'm seeing from Patrick Gitter. He's got a car that seems like it's very adept at pushing. As they come to now 5 to go, it looks like Patrick Pasalacqua moves down to try to, I think, shake Gitter. But Gitter says, "You ain't shaking me. I'm coming." And look at Flores.
It didn't look like that earlier in the stage, man, because the 21 car really looked like he's, not really good at the draft at all, because he fell all the way back to the back.
Yeah, so maybe he wasn't playing his cards or something like that. As we see a big move, Brian Johnson moves up to the top with Schaffner, and Patrick Gitter goes up to block that line.
Yeah, they're going to get around Frank Flores here. Flores somehow found himself right up front. And that's a great place to be, so kudos to you, Frank. But I don't think those guys had Frank in their visions to be up there. Now the 64, he is actually splitting the middle. He's going to have to do something, Brian, otherwise he is going to get shuffled back.
We got a little bit of contact with the wall there, I do believe, from Brian Johnson. As these guys keep trying to ditch Patrick Gitter, but Gitter is not letting them ditch him. Derek Jacobs really high in the running order right now. It looks another big move, but it looks like they're going to be able to get this one done.
Derek Jacobs now going to move all the way up into second place on the high line. He's got Kenny Powell pulled up right behind him. This is not looking anything like it looked up front at the end of that last stage.
No, not at all. This looks much different, as well as Alexander Carr, who's a lap down last stage. He's up in the top 10 now.
Yeah, getting ready to be a lot of cars moving and shuffling.
Oh, big move here from Derek Jacobs. He moves underneath Gitter. And Kenny Powell's going to push him. Oh, Patrick Gitter, almost some contact here.
Powell now in the middle. That's not the sandwich you want to be in the middle of. Jacobs also getting shuffled out to dry. Man, look at Jacobs and Powell both fall back.
And J.C. Evans now moves up into that second position in line. That's, of course, Patrick Gitter leads the top side. Josh Schaffner leading the bottom. Schaffner trying to go back-to-back here in stage 1 and 2.
Yep, still a lot of racing left to go. As a matter of fact, it'll be 2 laps to go here at the line. Schaffner, no stranger to the position that he's in right now. Patrick Gitter, though, going to be running on the outside here.
Oh, Evans around.
Oh, hard contact, both for Powell and Derek Jacobs. Caution is out.
And I think that is going to end stage number 2.
Man, wow, just unfortunate shot there for Derek Jacobs, as he now definitely recipient of that meatball flag. Still hadn't seen anything yet for Powell.
And you see right here, J.C. Evans, kind of the center point, the epicenter of this accident, I think gets turned by Miller Bonds. No, I almost feel like JC might have turned himself. Oh, look at Jacobs. Just hard contact for Jacobs. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's probably gonna end his evening.
We're going to take a look through the cockpit camera here of Jacobs. This is going to be a hard shot. This is what he saw as this happens. No really time for him to, not at all, nothing he could do here. Boom, just heavy contact. And that is going to wreck that race car. And I do believe that gives Josh Schaffner stage number 2 as well, Big Al.
That's another 10 points. Like he said, he needed it badly after missing a race last week due to family commitments. I think he had a volleyball game to go to. And after being laid up all week, it was really fortuitous for him that he didn't have to worry about putting in a lot of practice laps at Talladega. You just got to be up front when the stage is over with stage 2 in the books. Josh Schaffner, stage 2 winner. Patrick Gitter, P2. Chris Johnson, 3. Brandon Pasalaco, P4. Miller Bonds in 5th. Brian Johnson, 6th. Alexander Carr coming back from a lap down in 7th. 8th place shows Barry Stevens. 9th, Jerry Walters. In 10th place is Frank Flores. With stage 2 in the books, green flag, caution flags on the way. We're going to step away, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
It's more than a slogan. Whether you're on the track or making your own track, General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Alrighty, we are back. Of course, stage 2 is in the books. I do believe we might have somebody we're getting ready to talk to. Big Al, who'd you decide to talk to?
Derek Jacobs is Big Al up in the booth, buddy. You got me?
Hey, Big Al, how you doing?
Better than you, man. Not usually who I'd be talking to at the end of the stage, but Schaffner went back-to-back sweeps. So, man, why don't you talk us through what happened? We kind of saw it from your perspective, but just tell us how your hopes and dreams got just bashed right there on the straightaway.
I mean, we have a really good fast race car tonight. Just trying to put it in the position. Couldn't get it done. Just looked up and full speed and just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, you guys were definitely putting on a pretty good show, man. Like you said, you did have a fast car, just weren't at the right place at the right time. Do you think you'll be able to get back out here anytime tonight?
Yeah, I think so. I got 7 minutes of damage, but we'll see how she gets fixed here. I'm gonna just be hanging out in the back, just logging laps at this point. I'm definitely gonna be down on speed, so we'll see what the racing gods give me and see what we can do. Maybe we can make it back up and fight at the end.
Yeah, man. Sorry about your luck. You want to give a shout out to anybody while we got you on here?
Yeah, I just want to thank all my teammates, the Mullins and Jeff and Kenny Powell. Obviously, you guys up here in the booth, and wishing I'd been able to get to talk to you guys on a podium position next time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good luck to you, man, and hopefully we'll talk to you here in the near future.
Thank you, sir. You guys have a good night.
Alrighty, that was Derek Jacobs, of course, driver of the 27 machine. Unfortunately, had a fast race car underneath him. Unfortunately, had some just some bad luck out here on the racetrack, and hopefully, I'm glad he's at least willing to try to get some of it fixed and get back out there, Big Al.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's what you got to do. Especially if you're gonna be a champion, you got to take those licks and you got to get back out there. That's the hardest thing for me to do. So I applaud the effort of that guy.
No, yeah, 100%. Of course, Darren Mullins out there going to be in the lead with Josh Schaffner up on the top side, leading that top lane. Let's see what they're able to do. Of course, Darren Mullins is shown to be a very good pusher, I'd say. Let's see if he can actually lead. That's going to be a curious thing. I know Randy Mullins shown some speed as well, so I think that the Mullins is definitely have some very fast race cars. But of course, Paradigm has really been the dominating force here tonight so far. I mean, we see Schaffner is in the lead of the top line, as well as Pasalac was second in line there. You see Chris Johnson and Brian Johnson. I mean, Paradigm is really dominating the top 5 right now.
Well, hopefully we can actually keep this thing green and get our green flag pit stops in. Drivers are going to have to stop at least one more time for fuel, probably not tires. But if we were to have green flag pit stops, definitely expect to see drivers taking at least one side of tires, if not in the entire set. That'll be strategy set up by the individual teams, Brian. But we got our fingers crossed that we can actually keep this thing clean.
Yeah, I do believe Darren Mullins, I don't think he took tires on his stop, that last one, so he might be one of the guys that does end up taking a set of tires. So we'll have to see how that kind of all plays out. But that is really a lot of flexibility with that. Guys could take no tires at all. We'll see how that plays out as we get ready to enter the Geico restart zone. Darren Mullins up to the gears. Green flag is back out here as we start stage number 3 here in the ISCA Super Cup. Already some problems. We got some guys sideways wrecking Barry Stevens. No caution.
Not out. Now, if those guys are actually able to get their cars off of the racing surface, there won't be a caution. And that is not good for them either.
And we're going to see exactly what happened here that brought this, that caused this to happen. You see, we're watching the 78 of Barry Stevens. Let's see exactly what happened when the green flag flew. And it looks like, he was kind of laying back a little bit, and I'm wondering if maybe he might have been in the wrong gear. As you can see, there was quite a bit of a distance there, and I think, he just did not get going. He just did not go, and this is exactly what caused this accident. Randy Mullins, really had nothing he could do there, and I just think maybe, I wouldn't even mind looking at the cockpit there.
Well, Daddy Darren Mullins here is on that bottom line, and he was doing pretty good right up until just right about then there, Brian.
And I do believe I see exactly what it was. Of course, Stevens in first gear when they launched there. So, unfortunately, he was in first gear and did not have a lot of RPM. Whenever he hit the gas, the car just did not go because he didn't have a lot of really, when you're in first gear like that, the RPMs are already pretty much at their highest. And he just could not really get it shifted into second. Well, he couldn't get it shifted into second, I do believe was the problem.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the race is continuing, and Josh Schaffner right now out front.
Yeah, Josh Schaffner, that top line just came down there. Patrick Gitter, Brandon Pasalaco, Josh Schaffner, those guys were actually up top, running pretty strong, and then they descended down in front of Darren Mullins, so that put him from first to fourth real quick. Now, there's such a big distance right now as the field didn't get started at the same time.
No, 100%. This has changed quite a bit of the race here. We see, I do believe the top 13 are all within a second. Of course, Kenny Powell, he's about 4 seconds back from this pack, and this has caused quite a bit of drama, I'd say, and this is not the way you want to start stage 3. This is going to if we don't have a caution at some point, this is going to really put a lot of guys at disadvantage.
Yeah, it's going to definitely, this is shaping the future for a lot of guys here tonight. It's definitely going to start to shape up their evening, and I don't think it's going to get any better, barring there be a caution.
Yeah, but the thing is, because of how much this has split up the pack, that even makes it even less likely for there to be a caution.
Yeah, I know. And then you get that issue where you lose the draft, and then the lead pack cars are just, they're going to be gone. You're not going to see those cars again.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. I'm sure Barry Stevens didn't mean to do it at all, but it definitely had such an impact on this race, and I'm sure that these guys probably wish of course, these guys are in the front pack, don't want a caution at all. They want to stay up here because the less cars that's in this grouping, the less competitors they have to compete with.
Yeah, I know. Frank Flores all over the back bumper of Jeffrey Ford. These guys also got the 25 of Greg Carr with them. And they are right now, that's 3 of the 4 drivers that comprise that top row. I think Shane Parrish is bringing up the rear back there. But other than that, it's single file line there and everybody's kind of on the bottom row, just kind of being good.
And of course, you see the second grouping is led by Greg Wychinski now. He's followed by, of course, Billy Fitzgerald, Kenny Powell, Paul Olson, and Mark Sanchez.
And I'm going to tell you, the best thing for those guys is if Jeffrey Ford and these guys stay up high. If Ford and those guys were to go down low and get into one groupie, you know what I mean? Single file line, those guys, I don't think they would catch them.
And we were just kind of watching there. The person that really, I think, got paid a really big price or 2 people, I should say, Randy Belk and Randy Mullins. Both of the Mullinses, or not the Mullins, but both the Randys, I should say, are only, there's only 2 cars, and they're like 13 or 14 seconds back from this lead grouping. And because of that kind of messed up restart that started stage number 3, they are really at a sizable disadvantage. Now 17 seconds. They're going to continue to probably drop back, and Randy Mullins, that just ruined his chances, I think, tonight to win this race.
Yeah, and that is unfortunate, man, because, he had a rocket ship as well. We were watching him just how fast he was capable of going, man. But, hey, look, it's still a lot of racing left to go. I don't think that's not going to be the last heartbreak story that we get here at Talladega this evening.
No, I think you're right. No, I definitely think you're right. I mean, we still have just under halfway to go, and we crossed the halfway point not too long, just a few laps to go. But, of course, Josh Schaffner out front. Paradigm has definitely been the dominators thus far here in this race. Of course, Patrick Gitter, he had some damage earlier in the event. He has been very quick in the draft, so we'll see what he's going to be able to do here. Of course, he won last week, I do believe, at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and you can look and you can see exactly the effect that Frank Flores had on that last pack, because he was to the outside there, and by him not getting in line, you can see the gap that those guys got. They're actually starting in danger of losing that lead pack draft.
Yeah, you see Frank, he is definitely on the edge of losing the draft. And that's one thing that's been so difficult about these next-gen vehicles. It's so easy to lose the draft. And, if you fall back at least a half a second or just a few tenths back from that driver ahead of you, you could very easily lose that draft. And so he's going to have to really be careful. And because this front pack is a little bit smaller, making moves is going to be something that's going to take a lot of consideration.
I don't think you make any moves right now. I think you just stay in line and you keep the hammer down and you manage your own runs. That's what I think is going to be the key to success here in order to get this thing done.
No, I think you're right. I think you're just going to want to kind of keep your head down and just log some laps at this point. Just to kind of, I think everybody pretty much in this lead pack should probably be more than content just to ride along. But still, we are starting to see maybe even the pack start to split up again. We see Jeffrey Ford, he's kind of laying back from Alexander Carr. These guys got to be really careful with this. They got to be careful. They do not want to lose this draft. So easy to do.
I think they're just managing their own little individual runs within there, because you're going to get sucked right back up, into the pack. The one car though that is kind of struggling a little bit, that might be in jeopardy, that's going to be Frank Flores. If he doesn't find a way to get sucked back up into that slipstream, he's going to be out there in no man's land.
Oh, I think he's already in no man's land. I'm pretty sure, looking at him right now, he's too far. He's too far out.
Yeah, that's just sad. And he got separated. It's like we're watching one of those wildlife shows where he got separated from the pack, from the herd. The lion's going to get him.
No, that's pretty much exactly what it is. I mean, he is this is going to be it's bad. It's almost like Castaway, where was it Wilson? It's floating away.
Wilson!
Wilson! I mean, you can see
there's
right on your
Derek.
screen, he's gone. I mean, Frank is gone. Like, he is not coming back, and unless he gets.
Don't say that. Don't say that. You're just making it seem like there's no hope for Frank.
Well,
Frank
I mean, if a
is
caution
gone.
doesn't come out, it is kind of no hope. I mean,
You're saying we lost Frank.
Well, yep, Frank is gone.
Wow, that's heavy.
It's like you know, if you were in space, kind of working on a satellite or something like that, and you didn't have a tether, and you fell off, you know, kind of got knocked off the satellite, you just start drifting away.
So
and that's what Talladega is like. I mean, if you don't have the draft, you have no hope. There's a lot. I mean, it's very difficult to.
Ooh, look at Derek Jacobs. Derek Jacobs had a running partner, and I don't know who that was that he was with, but he just left her and went with this new chick. Did you see that?
Yeah,
he just sucked right up to the tail end of the pack and left the guy that he was running with.
And look at the damage on that front of that race car. I mean, Derek Jacobs, how is he still fast enough to keep up with this pack right here?
Well, he got sucked right up into the back of him, man. And as long as he can stay in that slipstream, he's gonna be just fine.
3 laps down right now, so he's going to be probably hoping that something happens that gives him a caution, but at least he's got some of the draft. So there's still some hope as long as he stays in the draft. Now, I just don't really look at Frank Flores right now. Looking at the stats right now, he's 9.7 seconds back from this lead pack. He was right on the, you know, just a lap or so ago, he was right there on these guys, and it just shows how easy it is to lose the draft, and he doesn't even have a damaged race car.
Yeah, I don't know if Derek's going to be able to keep up with these guys, but, you know, right now it's working out in his favor. And if they keep checking up like that, he keep getting sucked in. I mean, he's just going to have to keep the hammer down.
No, he can't do any lifting, that's for sure. He's going to have to keep the hammer down as we're now on lap 70. Josh Schaffner has led a lot of laps here tonight. He's won stage 1 and he won stage 2. Can he get it done? Of course, he did not race last week. This would be a pretty much perfect recovery from his absence.
Look, here's the deal. It's one thing to sweep all 3 stages at like a normal track, right? But to do that at Talladega, and I think we did have that done the last time we were at either Talladega or the tunnel. We had it was a hat trick, if you will. So, I mean, we're looking and we're going to see if he can actually get it done, Brian. But you know, still a long way to go, and we still got to stop for gas.
No, that's the big thing for sure. Of course, the fuel window around 42 laps. These guys are going to have to stop eventually for fuel. And that's going to be a big strategic thing. A lot of guys are going to be talking amongst themselves to figure out exactly when they're going to come down. Will they take fuel or will they take tires? That's going to be a big question as well. Now, if you're a team, you're going to want to do the same thing because that's the thing. You got to stay together. We just saw how Frank, being by himself, fell off the draft. So, you know, he fell off into space, essentially, into no man's land. Well, the same thing can happen to these guys that are in this lead pack right now if they differ on their strategy. If, like, okay, I'm taking right sides, and then another guy's saying, well, I'm not taking tires at all, and they come out at different times, they're going to lose each other, and they're not going to be able to, you know, to stick with each other. They're going to be slower.
For the most part, though, the teams, they're already stacked up. Now, the one disadvantage that you have is nobody.
Oh, there goes Darren Mullins down pit road.
But the one thing that you don't have, remember, Darren was on a completely different cycle than everybody else, and which is weird because
that's a good point. He was a little bit less gas in his tank.
Yeah, he had 29 laps when we started this stage, so yeah, but he still won't be able to make it to the end of this thing on gas. So I don't know what his strategy is, but he's definitely going to need a caution.
No, I think you're right. The math is not going to add up there for sure. But this, when these guys all end up coming down pit road, it's going to be definitely interesting to see how it all plays out.
Well, you know, and like I said, most of the a lot of these guys have not had the opportunity to practice green flag pit stops because you don't get. I don't care where you're racing at in Talladega, you're not running green flag. It's you're going to have cautions, right? So when they get ready to break, that's a big one because you got to be going from almost 200 miles an hour in a single file line, you know, and it's going to surprise some people because not everybody's on the same pit sequence. You get what I'm saying? I mean,
No,
when
I
they
get
go,
exactly what you're saying.
yeah, all hell's going to break loose.
Well, for sure. I mean, especially, all these cars in the line having to brake at the same time, and sometimes they go double file down pit road. And, you're right about officials. The officials have been nothing but caution fests this week. And a lot of times that leads to, no green flag pit stops, really. And so these guys have had limited practice with that. Now, that's going to also separate the men from the boys, or the prepared from the unprepared in a lot of ways. Which teams have spent time this week practicing that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. Right now, we're postured to take this thing green for the rest of the way, just because of the way we're split up. Darren Mullins just had his pit. Now he has the herd coming up in his rearview mirror. He should be able to get right there with these guys and at least compete to fight to stay on the lead lap. Although he will be on the tail end of it.
Yeah, and we also should mention as well that the guys that are, of course, leading this pack, Josh Schaffner right now, he's burning the most fuel out of everybody. We talked about the estimated fuel being about 42 laps. Well, that's less for him because he's out here cutting through the air. And that's one of the biggest things about tracks like Talladega. He could be two less. The amount of laps he can make might be 2 or 3 less than everybody else. Josh Schaffner.
Is that Frank Flores that everybody's going by right there?
That's the 64 of Darren Mullins.
That's Darren Mullins. Okay, Darren's going to be on the tail end. Now, Frank Flores is out there somewhere. He's out there by himself. I mean, he has not even a fishing buddy or a boat.
And that's Darren stayed on the bottom. He was trying to make sure that he was able to get this draft. And it looks like he's going to be able to save a little bit of gas. I don't know if he's going to be able to save enough, though.
Now Ford shuffled to the outside, and remember, the one thing that this group needs to do, and that's stay together, because especially at this point, you know that there's going to be a green flag pit stop coming up here pretty soon. I don't think you want to put yourself to the outside. I think you want to come on back down and kind of keep it single file.
Yeah, that's another variable as well, for sure, that plays into the fuel economy of these race cars. Running higher on the track, that's the longer distance around this place. That means you're burning more fuel. And, of course, Ford as well is cutting through the air. He's the one that is taking the brunt of the fuel load as well for that group of 3 that's trying to run the top. Now, they're getting a very good run up there, though. I got to give them credit for that. It looks like they're going to have somebody maybe join them, and that is the 64 of Mullins.
Where are they going?
They're getting a big run. I'll tell you that. They're going to end up having to pit.
Everybody's going to have to pit eventually. They still have a ways to go before they're actually in there, but they are in that green flag pit window now. If they were to pit now, they actually would be able to make it to the end of this thing on fuel.
Yeah, I do believe you are correct. Of course, they're about 23 laps into this run. As well as this second pack has actually started to catch up. I'll be curious to see how this kind of plays out, because you see Greg Wyszynski, of course, leading that second pack. They were 6 seconds back or more. Now they're 5.3. They're catching this front pack.
Well, because the front pack split up and they're running in 2 lines. If they get back in a single file line, that second pack won't be able to catch them. And these guys right now, they just had a major checkup at the back of that line.
But you got to know that Greg Wyszynski and Kenny Powell and all these guys, Billy Fitzgerald, they're licking their chops right now. They are licking their lips saying, hey, we still got a chance. They're like, we talked about how when you're, when you lose the draft, you're kind of out there in space. Well, they're waving their little arms and they're swimming back towards the back.
Yeah, and I mean, and they're getting a call. They're getting it every 10 seconds. They're knowing exactly that they're gaining on these guys. And, Kenny Powell knows exactly what turn of what lap they're going to catch them at this rate. So, they're salivating.
100%. And there's still a chance, still hope for those drivers for sure. And sometimes more numbers in a pack is not always the best thing. Now, I think the perfect number would be a 4 or 5 pack train, a 4 or 5 car train. Now, when you have 10 or more, that is more variables, more drivers that are moving around. And a lot of times that's not good.
We saw a tandem pull away earlier, so I don't know. If it's down to 2 cars that could hook up and be fast, that will be problematic in itself.
And we'll have to see how that plays out as we're on lap 80. Of course, we talked about it before. The fuel window is open, but I think a lot of these drivers are probably going to I think run it out. I think that's probably what the key is going to be here. These guys are going to run the tanks dry. I think that would be my play here if I was out here. Because, I mean, you know, you never know what could happen. A caution comes out and you're down pit road. You don't want that.
Well, I would say to the guys, you know, the sooner we come, the less. You know, the 27 car is really off pace, and he is on the racetrack. And the leaders are coming up on him at a high rate of speed.
Yeah, I think he might
he's
have
coming
taken
off
a
pit
stop.
road. Okay.
I think he just took a pit stop himself, so he should be good to go on gas. He's now 5 laps down, going to be coming off a pit road, like you said, probably right in front of the leaders.
But what I would say is that if we come now, we don't have to stay as long. You know what I mean? The more gas you take, the longer you're going to have to stay down there. So that's just the way I'm looking at it. So
that's a good point. I mean, if you come down earlier, you won't have to take as much gas. Now, that is 100% a fact. I'm just saying that when it comes to if a caution comes out, you don't want to be left holding the bag going a lap down on pit road. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely, 100%.
But, yeah, I mean, no, I think there's pros and cons, definitely, you know. But the thing is about it as well, Big Al, if you run the tank out, maybe you don't even take a full tank of gas. You know, you don't really have to take a full tank. You can kind of, but that requires a lot of number crunching.
Yeah, I mean, that's the variable that we don't have. We know how the car runs best on a full tank of gas versus, you know, I don't know. You don't want to come up short, so.
Yeah, and that's something that could, especially if we might even go to a green-white checker, that could definitely be another variable as well. But, I mean, and it's also very difficult to do that sort of math while you're out here going at 200 mile an hour to be messing with those black boxes. That's another thing we haven't talked about. You know, using the controls on your wheel in order to set up pretty much your pit stop, you know, to say, hey, I'm taking this much gas, I'm taking this much tires. That's kind of hard to do at these kind of speeds.
Now we got a 3-car breakaway up front. Now, we know if we could get it down to 2, they would actually be at a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, we'll see if I don't think they're going to be able to break away. It looks like that 3-car is kind of they kind of accordioned back together again. Of course, John Schaffner been dominating the race thus far. As you can see, the top line they're getting successful runs up there. As Shane Parrish as well has jumped up to the top.
Now, we don't have the ingredients to make a pizza, but we can make a heck of a mess right here with the way this is stacking up.
I'm definitely curious to see if we can determine if this second pack is starting to catch. Now, they've been trending in the wrong direction now. Wachinski and those guys were about 5.3 seconds back from that front pack. Now they're 7 seconds back, Big Al. So this is not a good sign for Greg Wachinski and Kenny Powell. They need to do something different here. And it could all come down as well. Kenny Powell his temperature might be rising. That's one thing we haven't talked a whole lot about tonight is, temperature on these engines. Even though they don't have tape on these race cars, they still do get hot.
Yeah, that's right, because they have a very narrowed air, induction. So that is a good problem. We've been seeing that a lot with these cars where they will run a lot hotter.
Especially when they're sitting right behind another race car and you're trying to push that car and not into clean air. The air does not get into the intake. So I'm sure even, Brandon Pasolaka's probably running into that issue as well, pushing John Schaffner right now. And as well as we see Jerry Walters has been pushing Jeffrey Ford. I mean, the same thing could be said about anybody that's pushing. Big hit, though, for Brandon Pasolaka to get that 50 up to speed. I love these cars. They're so good at pushing. You're able to really get physical with these race cars.
Yeah, and then generally you lay off there in the turns, get enough air in between there to kind of keep that car cool. And then when you're on the straightaways, you just re-engage and shove. So, I mean, that's the key to keeping the car cool, and you can do it longer that way. You don't want to be on the guy's bumper all the way around the racetrack because you will run into situations where she is going to run hot on you.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, that's definitely.
Kenny Powell in that group, not sure what's going on, but it seems like
mean, you could definitely tell Powell is trying to push Wachinski, but it doesn't seem like it's been working very well. I mean, they're still hovering around that 7.2 second mark behind this second pack.
Yeah, Powell out there now, you see he's out there sucking in some air there, trying to cool off that G&G 24 Toyota Camry.
And we got a lap car. I do believe that is J.C. Evans.
Yeah, Evans, he got caught up earlier in the melee, and so that's definitely affecting the kind of day he's having. He is really kind of out there on his own pace and distance, if you will.
Yeah, 3 laps down, trying to somehow get some sort of points here tonight. Of course, I do believe he is out of the playoffs as it is. I think he was kicked out in the last round. Of course, we are moving on to, I do believe, the round of 8 this next time.
Ooh. Before Mr. Carr just ran right up onto the back of the 82. That's what I was talking about, you know, having to control your run, if you will.
Yeah, it definitely seems like guys are moving to the bottom. I think a lot of these guys are starting to prepare for pit stops. I really think that that's starting to be the question here, that a lot of the guys are starting to think about, hey, it's time to come down very, very soon.
They're in that 10-lap window for fuel. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think at this point, this is about the time where you do want to come down, because if you do make a mistake, you got enough time to recover. And that's going to be the key. Because I don't think this whole group's coming down at the same time. I just don't think it's going to be possible.
Yeah, no, especially we got 2, different teams being represented up here in this lead group. So, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think a lot of these guys might not even be strategizing when they're going to pit. They might just be like looking at the other group and like, hey, okay, when they come, we're just going to come. We're just going to try to keep an eye on them. But it looks like everybody's still staying out. That 3-car breakaway happening once again. I like what I'm seeing from Patrick Gitter. He seems like he's willing to work with those Paradigm guys.
Yeah, I think it's more like I think it's more like he's just kind of dug up in there like an Alabama Tig, and they just got to deal with it.
Yeah,
he ain't going nowhere, dude.
One thing I'd like to mention as well that I'm kind of surprised about, Matt DeCiani not in the field here tonight as well. You know, he's in need of some points, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's possibly in danger of falling out of the top 8 of playoff drivers.
Well, tonight's lack of performance is definitely not going to aid in that.
Yeah, he's gonna need to probably, if he shows up to the Roval next week. I know he's a competent road course racer. One of the best road course racers in the ISCA, so he's going to need to win next week.
Maybe that's what he's counting on.
I wouldn't count on that. I mean, I'd at least would have showed up to try to get some points. Wow, big move from Greg Carr to jump down there.
Darren Mullen's the only driver right now that's in that high line. Now, remember, he's already pitted. So, either these guys are, Ford's back high.
Yeah, it looks like Jeffrey Ford not exactly sure what to do. A little bit indecisive as they guys are staying out one more lap. Jerry Walters, though, was able to make up a lot of spots by using that top side. He jumps down right behind Patrick Gitter.
No, I'm just saying I want to see if they can actually increase that gap that they've got on Powell, which they have. They're up to like 9 point some seconds, another 2 seconds on the lead.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's going to be, that's just less competition. And there's not going to be a whole lot that Powell and those guys can do on pit road to really aid in that, to gain that time. They're really going to need some sort of caution to come out to help them. And I know Kenny Powell, he is below the cut line right now. He needs as many points as he can get here tonight.
I tell you what, there's a whole lot they could do that would actually increase that distance, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is a lot that they could do. But, if these guys continue to race each other up here, it helps them a little bit. But I don't know.
Well, these guys up here, they're really they're doing the right thing, in my opinion. Darren Mullen's kind of hanging to the outside. He's really, that's his smartest play, because the one thing he doesn't want to get caught in, he doesn't want to get caught up in the checkups when these guys do decide to go down pit road, because he's not going with them. But I'm going to tell you this, you know, unfortunately for him, if I was him, I think I would go.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lap down as it is. I think he's going to stay out and probably try to hope that some sort of caution or something comes out. I think that's the only thing he's banking on right now. That he's on the lead lap when it does happen. I think that's what he's kind of banking on.
I'd be with the leaders, and I'd be kind of nudging them all to make certain that we could maybe get a caution.
Oh, yeah, maybe push him to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like push them to be side by side, you know, like always push someone. And yeah, no, I mean that's not a bad strategy to kind of. But then again, you just don't want to be involved in it when it does break out.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we're on lap 93 out of 118. This thing's been going by fairly quickly. Josh Schaffner has been, I think he's led the majority of the laps here tonight. Won stage 1 and stage 2. And, of course, is looking to possibly get the win. But he has to, of course, get through green flag pit stops first. Very easy to mess that up, especially when you go from 200 mile an hour down to, I do believe, the speed limit 55. And very hard to stop as well into your box when you're on older tires. Tires don't matter that much at super speedways like this, but they do matter when you're going to pit and when you're coming off of pit road as well.
You bet especially coming off of pit road, that's going to be the biggest time where you're going to see the difference, which is the reason why a lot of people take the left side tires.
Yeah, exactly. Taking left side tires to aid you with your handling coming off of pit road. And once you're up to speed, tires do not matter in the slightest, essentially, at this kind of a racetrack. Here they come. Looks like a mass pretty much immigration to pit road. As Josh Schaffner leads them down their double file coming to pit road.
Mullins didn't stop with him. He kept going. Also, the 27 and Derek Carr, they're going to be out there together. Sorry, not Derek Carr, but Derek Jacobs.
Well, let's see what the calls are going to be. Looks like we see the right sides of or left sides of the car lifting up. And it looks like left sides only for a lot of these drivers.
Yep.
Shane Parrish, though, taking 4. And this is going to be equal a longer stop. It looks like he might come off in time. I don't know. He's probably going to lose the draft. A lot of these drivers taking 4 are going to lose the draft.
Hey, the good news is no black flags to speak of.
And it looks
so
like
everybody's got to be feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, 100%. Chris Johnson winning the race off pit road. He's going to come off, I do believe, as the leader. Him and Brian Johnson. Now they have a pretty big gap back to third place, Jerry Walters.
Now we're going to find out who's been naughty, who's been nice, who got it done. And
Jerry Walters, of course, being pushed by Greg Carr. What a fantastic first race for the 62-year-old Jerry Walters.
Yeah, definitely. He might end up owing me $50 after all if he keeps doing as well as he's doing.
I know you said something about that earlier before the broadcast. You said that, oh, yeah, I know him. He owes me $50.
But man, look at those. Look at the brother Johnsons go.
Yeah, they're definitely looking good, but of course they are getting caught by that third place driver of the 62 of Walters and everybody behind them. But look how those green flag pit stops shook everybody up here. You could see that some guys lost on that green flag stop. Shane Parrish definitely lost on that stop. Jeffrey Ford. I mean, those guys were up in here, up in the lead pack. Now they're 6 seconds or more back from this group. Patrick Gitter, though, trying to lead the top side. We're starting to see double file racing in the lead pack, as well as lap cars.
Yeah, look at Greg Carr. He has made his way all the way up into the top 5. I mean, he's racing for where it counts here tonight.
Look at this. Jerry Walters jumps up in front of Patrick Gitter. Gitter trying to push him along. This is definitely getting exciting. You could tell that these guys know this is the end of the race. Jerry Walters in the lead, being pushed by Patrick Gitter.
21 laps to go at the line.
Jerry Walters' first race in the ISCA, and he leads laps. How about that? You got to love it.
Yeah, you do got to love it, especially since you're the guy that brought him in. But now he's going to hope that he can keep making the friends that he has made thus far, because, Brian, this is the part of the race where everybody's teeth are clenched, because you know what happens at Talladega.
Oh, Jerry making a big block, and they hung him out. Oh, he's about to get turned. Jerry, come on.
There's Frank Flores.
Jerry Walters trying to play the Pied Piper. He tried to jump up in front of the 6 of Brandon Pasalacqua. They were having none of it. He pops back down in front of Gitter. Patrick Gitter probably not appreciating the fact that Jerry was trying to play both lines there. But here comes some more lap cars. That, of course, is the 54 of Randy Mullins. Randy Mullins probably desperately wanting a caution to come out, considering he got kind of, I'd say, kind of sold up the creek there after that caution came out, or should I say the start of the stage itself. I mean, he kind of got, I'd say, just a bad deal whenever that whole the bad restart happened.
Well, it just went from bad to worse, because now he finds himself the first driver that's a lap down. So should the caution come out now, it would actually work out in his benefit. But, I mean, yeah, you're right. That does kind of suck for him, because he was up front most of the night.
And unfortunately, yeah, that stage start really just really hurt him very badly. But Jerry Walters still out front. Of course, Patrick Gitter sits in second. Brandon Pasalacqua is in third. Miller Bonds has been having a really good night, fourth place. Chris Johnson's in fifth. Brian Johnson's sixth. So the Johnson brothers, fifth and sixth. Greg Carr is having a decent night. He stayed alive. He's up in seventh. Josh Schaffner, who won stage 1 and 2, he sits in eighth. Of course, Shane Parrish, he's about 7 seconds back from this group in ninth, and Jeffrey Ford sits in 10th. They're both drafting together. I think now's a good time. We'll take one more commercial break, and then, of course, we'll be right back with the conclusion of this race and who is going to win. I'm definitely on the edge of my seat. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel talking, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done here?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
It's more than a slogan. Whether you're on the track or making your own track, General Tire, anywhere is possible.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, of course, with the Thursday night Super Cup Series in the ISCA. Jerry Walters still out front. We see the top line, though, trying to organize, as I do believe Brandon Pasalacqua leads that group. Of course, he's being pushed, I do believe, by Chris Johnson. A lot of wiggling going on right now, Big Al. The intensity is starting to rise.
Yeah, because it's almost go time now. These guys have been dormant, laying there waiting, and now it's time to put the hammer down and actually show just what they're capable of. There's two drivers coming high around the outside, and they're going to be bringing a third. That third driver is going to be none other than Brian Johnson, the first two, Brandon Pasalacqua, and his Paradigm teammate, Chris Johnson.
Bad news for Randy Mullins. We just saw Randy Belt go a lap down. That's going to make it very difficult for Randy Mullins to get his lap back, as we still are side by side for the lead. Brandon Pasalacqua looks fast up, and they got a Paradigm line. I mean, that is exactly what that is. I mean, Pasalacqua's in line with Chris Johnson, Brian Johnson, and Josh Schaffner. That is pretty much the whole Paradigm crew in a line.
Do you see it?
You gotta love it.
That's exactly what it is. All sporting the same new design, nice shiny paint job. These guys are definitely making a statement here tonight.
You got Jerry Walters kind of with an unlikely, I'd say, alliance with Patrick Gitter, as well as you got Miller Bonds and Jeffrey Souza. All four of the guys that are on the bottom line are on different teams. Jerry Walters is not even on a team. So this is interesting to see. It kind of a hodgepodge group of drivers on the bottom, and they're still competing with the Paradigm group. As we have 8 drivers, essentially, 9 drivers that are capable still of winning this race.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you what, these guys, they know exactly what they're doing. They're building their ingredients. They're taking their time. They did not just accidentally end up here running, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the high side together. You know what I mean? This was not luck.
No, the puzzle, definitely, they got the puzzle worked out.
Now, the question is going to be if Jerry Walters is going to try to flirt with danger and get up there and try to block again. Oh, he did not. That bottom line really kind of lagged a little bit, so when they came back together, a little bit of mushing and pushing going on there. You got Gitter as well as Miller Bonds. So definitely expect these guys to what's the 14 doing back there? Finding a whole lot of speed here at a very late moment of the night.
He's kind of helping out that top line, or the bottom line, I should say. I mean, he of course not in the running to win the race. He's 12 laps down at the moment.
Yeah, him and Greg Carr are going to be the two right there. I think that are going to be the outliers. The outliers, it's like they're going to be coriander. Either you're going to like them there or you not.
A lot of wiggling going on though, as you could tell these guys on the top are starting to get a little bit closer to the guys on the bottom. We're starting to see side drafting become, I think, a little bit more of a factor. But Patrick Gitter is doing a tremendous job pushing Jerry Walters. He keeps him viable on that bottom line.
Yeah, and Gitter has nothing to lose by trying to ensure that Walters maintains his position. Gitter's car obviously I think is going to be better as a pusher than being out front. He struggled a little bit earlier on in the race, but definitely has tremendous pace. And I'm telling you the truth. I know Jerry Walters is great at what he does, but there's no way I'm going to sit here and say that Gitter's not making him better.
No, I think that's 100% fact. I think Walters, if he wins this race, that takes it makes the guys that are trying to make the cut line have to point their way in rather than being locked in on a victory. Walters is not a playoff driver. And I think that's what Gitter's probably plan is. He's like, I want to make it to where, Chris Johnson, Brandon Pasalacqua, Josh Schaffner, they have to point their way in.
Rolling by J.C. Evans. He's just hadn't been having the best of luck since he kind of got tangled up into that skirmish there at the end of stage 1.
And there goes Patrick Gitter. He jumps up in front of Pasalacqua, and Jerry Walters hung out to dry here.
10 laps to go. That's why you saw what you just saw, because now it is go time. 3 wide right there. Gitter's going to get left behind as well. He's going to have to try to figure out how he's going to mend in with these Paradigm guys, and I don't think he is going to. That's going to put him back to at least 5th place, because they're going to do everything they can to keep him pushed to the outside. Miller Bonds now coming in. He is going to be trying to make his way to get up onto the bumper of Patrick Gitter But look at how far Jerry Walters just fell just that quick, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like Patrick Gitter might be regretting his decision to leave Jerry Walters, because I mean, he as well paid a little bit of a price there. It's now Paradigm is pretty much wholly in control of the fate of the race at the moment, as we come to, I do believe, now coming to 8 to go next time by.
Well, it was go time, and you got to make a move, and obviously he made one, and I think he'll know next time maybe that wasn't the one to make, but Miller Bonds is going to get up on him. They're going to have one shot here to try to regroup and try to make this thing happen. Now, question is going to be, is Greg Carr and or Jeffrey Souza going to jump up there behind these guys, because it's going to take them more than 3 cars to get it done, and we know that those first 4 are all on the same, meal plan, if you will.
Yeah, and of course I was talking about as well Patrick Gitter wanting to make these guys have to earn their way in points-wise. Well, if he wins this race as well, that also does the same thing. That makes, 2 wins in a round takes one. One guy cannot lock himself in with a win when he already has that win. So this is kind of, big wiggle there for Patrick Gitter. Miller Bonds' car just not hooking up with the rear end as good as you would suspect.
And I'm going to tell you what I know is, if Gitter gets in front of Pasalacqua, he is going to jump down in front of him. There's not a doubt in my mind. I don't see him trying to race these guys up top. I think I see him getting up in front and then trying to get in front of the whole Paradigm line.
But then we've seen that already play out here so far tonight. Look, I mean, Pasalacqua is not going to push Gitter. We've already seen it. Like, it seems like the Paradigm group as a whole has a rule: don't push Gitter.
Well, it looks like Greg Carr did jump up there in the 25 car. He's going to be the 4th car in the line. Now that means that Jeffrey Souza is going to be the deciding factor. Does he go with the high line, or does he stay down low? Where's his loyalties going to lie?
I'm not sure. Here comes Jerry Walters. He jumps down in front of Pasalacqua.
He did not get the memo, did he?
He did not stick with Bonds and Gitter. So this is going to be curious. Jerry Walters, I think he's going for glory. He's like, hey, this is my first race in this series. I want to win this thing.
Yeah, but I don't think that the guys behind him are going to stay behind him. Thus going to make him have another bit of a quarry.
Almost some contact there for the lead. It's starting to get intense. Could we see possibly another accident to end this race?
It's going to be 5 to go, and look at that tandem breakaway.
And
2 cars running away on the high side, and here they go. They're leaving him by himself again.
Bye, Jerry.
That's the reason why I asked last week, what's your friends and family plan looking like? Because you really need one of those when you come to a racetrack like Talladega.
No,
you're
you're
not
right.
going to be able to do it by yourself, man. And being a new guy into the group, you see what kind of love he's getting, right?
I think
he's
he might have lost the draft.
Lead draft.
Yeah, I think he might just have lost the draft. Those guys really just
they just left him, man.
They just left him. They unfriended him and pulled away.
Holy cow. This is a harsh group.
It is brutal. He just got blocked.
Man.
You can't message him no more.
I was liking the little fella, too.
That's unfortunate, too. Jerry Walters having a really fantastic debut in this series. Still probably might get a top 10 here.
Well, 5 to go, man. I'm going to tell you what. I know it's going to get mixed up again because those 2 cars that are leading, I don't think the 4 cars behind them have them factored in as being winners of this thing. Greg Carr's going to stay low, though, and that's going to cause the Paradigm guys to go up high. Gitter's going to go right up high to block. He's got them fenced in. Are they going to shove him straight?
I don't know. This is starting to get intense. I think it could get physical because you can tell Gitter is just trying to throw blocks every which way, and the Paradigm guys do not appreciate it, I do believe, as they code down to the bottom. That's the bad thing against him. He's outnumbered. He's outnumbered. There's nothing Gitter can really do here except for block. I think that's his only play here.
I think he's just trying to disrupt the airflow as much as he can. But the Paradigm guys want to have a 1, 2, 3, 4 night. That's what I think they came in here trying to do. That's what I think they've been wanting to do, and I think they're going to get it, man. You might even have to extend and just get the whole group in there for the photo at the end of this thing.
No, I think so. I mean, I think they're showing that they have the teamwork to get it done here tonight. I mean, this is probably the most team-oriented race we've seen thus far. I mean, a lot of times we see races at Talladega or Daytona, the majority of the team doesn't make it to the end of the race. But these guys, I mean, the whole team is in 1 through 4 right now.
Yeah, definitely they're having a pretty good time out there. I can't say that everybody else on the racetrack is having such a good time tonight.
No, not at all. I mean, there's a lot of drivers that are not having as good of a time near as these Paradigm guys are. I mean, G&G strong early. Back now outside, you see Greg Wachinski. He's in 10th. I mean, Kenny Powell, I do believe he's, I'm not mistaken, he is, where is Kenny Powell at on this racetrack? He's on pit road. What happened to Kenny Powell?
I don't know, but
he must have missed something there.
Right now he's being shown at 16 laps down.
That is not good, considering he entered this race below the point, the cut line, Big Al. I mean, and I know Kenny, I hopefully doesn't take offense to this, but he's not a good road course racer. And I would not want to put my hopes and dreams on the Roval next week, and it looks like Kenny Powell's going to have to.
Got a big old ball flag.
Oh, big block there. Josh Schaffner blocking Patrick Gitters. Gitter tries to do another move here with the aid of Jeffrey Sousa. Oh, that car gets turned around.
Car sideways coming through the grass. He's going to keep it straight, and we're going to keep it green. 2 laps to go. No caution for that. That's just going to watch his hopes and dreams slide away. Here come 2 more cars, taking 2 more positions away from him.
Yeah, Greg Carr trying to get back up to speed here. Unfortunately, no caution coming out for him.
But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that's it. I think we're going to have a couple more cars going to slide here before this thing's over.
The white flag is out right now. Next flag is going to end it.
Gitter's going to make one last charge here. He's got Sousa behind him as well as Miller Bonds.
That he does. Jeffrey Sousa playing a big role, being 12 laps down. Can he help out Patrick Gitter?
Gitter now going down low. They're trying to stay as far away from Gitter as possible, and he's trying to make himself relevant.
As they come out of turn 4. Oh, big blocks going on right here as they race to the line, and it looks like Brandon Pasalacqua is going to barely win this race. Chris Johnson out of 4 started racing him.
Yeah, Brian Johnson doing everything he could to block the field back there.
No. And Patrick Gitter ruins the 1, 2, 3, 4.
You think Schaffner actually even finishes in 6th place.
Yeah, Miller Bond's able to get a spot there. Let's take a look back at that finish there to see Brian Johnson throw it some block.
Yeah, Brian made that Chevy Camaro mighty wide.
Can you blame him? I mean, these guys were trying to get a really good Paradigm finish, and unfortunately, look at that right there. Ooh. But Gitter was not having it. Look at this. Awesome race to the end, almost 4 wide.
I mean, he was blocking low and high. I mean,
he was making that car 5 wide by himself.
Yeah, just in there swinging.
But Brandon Pasalacqua able to go to victory lane here at Talladega. Let's take a look at the final results. Of course, Brandon Pasalacqua, as we just mentioned, able to win here by just, I do believe, about 200ths over Chris Johnson, who's in 2nd. Patrick Gitter barely able to hold on to 3rd place and ruining the Paradigm 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, Brian Johnson comes home in 4th. Miller Bonds in 5th. Josh Schaffner, after winning stage 1 and 2, finishes in 6th place. Jerry Walters' first race gets a top 10. Very good job to him in 7th. 8th place, Greg Wachinski. 9th, Mark Sanchez. And 10th, Paul Olson.
11th place is going to be Jeffrey Ford Chain Parrish. 12th, Alexander Carr. 13th, Greg Carr. 14th. 15th shows Frank Flores. Randy Mullins in 16th. Darren Mullins, 17th. Randy Belk, 18th. 19th, J.C. Evans and Derek Jacobs rounds out the top 20.
21st, Jeffrey Sousa. 22nd, Kenny Powell. 23rd, Billy Fitzgerald. 24th, Barry Stevens. 25th, Al Kozlowski. And 26th, Davidson Tenney. Definitely was a rough race for a lot of drivers out there. Of course, not a rough race, though, for Brandon Pastelacqua. We'll be back with our post-race show. We're here on the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series broadcast, but we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so talking, bro. We get a hug, right? What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
It's more than a slogan. Whether you're on the track or making your own track, General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Alrighty, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with the ISCA Thursday Super Cup post-race show. Of course, we're going to be talking to our top three, and that'll be starting with Mr. Patrick Gitter. Patrick, we got you up here in the booth. I mean, you definitely had a little bit of an up-and-down race here today. You had a little bit of damage early, was involved in one of the crashes, I believe the first crash there towards the end of stage number one, but you managed to rebound. You kind of had everybody, I'd say, you had the deck stacked against you in a lot of ways. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, I think I'm happy with the podium. Obviously, excited to come home third tonight. Car felt great all night. I mean, it's been good all week where we've been able to push when we can. We've got the speed to stay up front when we can. It was a fun race. I mean, a lot of lane shifting. A lot of guys working together with the teams we've got in here in ISCA. So fun race overall.
Yeah, it didn't seem like you had a whole lot of teammates there at the end there to help you out, and you kind of had to make some, I'd say, impromptu alliances. I mean, but definitely looked like you had a lot of fun out there for sure. I mean, what was the game plan? Being Were you communicating with those guys to see if they would work with you?
Not really. I mean, not really. It was just trying to. I mean, Miller was doing a pretty good job of pushing me there at the end, and so I mean, I knew it was probably going to be me and him, and then Jeffrey Souza. Even though he was, I don't know how many laps down he was, but his car was pretty good. So I mean, it was basically us three versus the Paradigm guys there at the end. I knew it was going to be a numbers game. And the Paradigm guys were up there all race. I mean, they were fast and they did really well working together. And I could tell early in the race it was going to be a challenge.
But still, a really good point stay for you. And you kind of came in here already fairly secure, I'd say. I mean, I do believe you won last week at Texas, and pretty much secured your way into the next round fairly easily. But and we even talked to you a little bit last week about it. You kind of were just you were just race to win. Not a lot of pressure on you. Did that help at all? Not having as much pressure.
Yeah, I think so. It's you can kind of you just have a little more flexibility in what you can do in the race. I mean, you can play the strategy to win. You don't have to worry about as much about stage points and things like that. So yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I try to still push, as hard as I can, get up there for the win, and race it out. Kind of one race at a time.
Well, still, great job to you, Patrick, getting a podium here when the kind of everybody was racing against you there. It was a numbers game, but you still managed to kind of break up that paradigm 1, 2, 3, 4 that I think they were trying to get. Next week is the Charlotte Roval. How do you feel about that race there? I mean, I know I'd say, a fairly competent road course racer.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to the Roval. I'm in Charlotte, so that's the home track for me. So I'm excited about that. I do like the Roval. That's one of the tracks I'm more familiar with of all the road courses that the next gens go to. So I think it'll be fun, man. It'll be interesting race to watch too. I mean, it's so tight at the Roval. It's either you're on the asphalt or there's concrete walls all around you. There's not really any grass, no runoff zones. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I have to ask one more question about your teammate Matt DeCiani. Did not show up here tonight. Not sure what's going on. Hope everything's okay with him. If he does show up, I know he's a very good road course racer as well. Do you have any news on that front? Because I know he's in a must-win situation. I do believe after missing this race.
Yeah, he was traveling this week. But I mean, I think Matt is one of the favorites to win next week. He's always so good at the road courses. I think he'll be one of the guys to watch next week, and he's got a little bit extra to race for. I don't know if I'm not sure if it's a race to win situation or how he's looking on points. It might be, but if it is, that's definitely going to give him the extra edge to get a good finish and a win.
All right, Patrick. Well, we definitely appreciate you giving us a little bit of information on that for sure. We can't wait to see what you look like next week. Who can we give a shout out to?
Yep. First off, you and Big Al in the booth. Appreciate you guys broadcasting. Shout out to Kenny for hosting the league. Appreciate EPI and Team Conti for the sets they put out this week. We've had a good amount of success with it all week, and I think it showed tonight here in this race. Appreciate the guys at Martin PC. C12 Design Shop. It's a newer paint that I was running tonight, so really got to shout out Kobe Whipple and the work he does over there. And my teammates there, Matt wasn't here tonight. Had some other guys help me out tonight, so just appreciate them.
All right, Patrick. Well, thanks for your time, brother, and we'll see you next time at the Roval.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.
All righty, that was Patrick Gitter, driver of the 21 machine, EPI.com machine. Definitely a fantastic, or should I say RaceEPI.com machine. Definitely a great job to him here at Talladega. Next up, Big Al standing by with Chris Johnson, 99.
Chris Johnson's Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Man, what a show you guys put on for us tonight. Spectacular showing from your team, especially from yourself. Solid points day for you. How does that make you feel here at the end of a Thursday night? Smash and grab.
Of course, with the road course coming up, I tried to maximize these points and kind of these easier tracks. Not saying Talladega's easier, but I'm going to get more points at a track like this than I would at a road course. So I had a mission tonight.
So how you guys feeling that your chances are, because this, the playoffs are dwindling down, man. We're getting closer and closer to having to make a decision.
Well, I know that Brandon, Josh, and Brian probably, round to 8, round to 4 guys. Of course, you're going to have Getter in there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the points is right now. I'm probably round to 8. Will I get to round to 4? Probably not. So, I'm trying to stay optimistic, but with the competition, Josh, Brandon, Gitter, Brian, all these guys, I mean, it makes it very complicated to get into the championship 4.
Yeah, well, not just the championship, but man, you guys have a pretty stacked team there. Just looking at it from tonight, even you guys were very strong showing there from Paradigm, and you guys were up front. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to boost your chances of making it here a longer run in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm the lonely Ford, and it took a Ford to push Brandon Chevrolet to the win there, but yeah, Team Paradigm Motorsports. I mean, we're stacked. We practice, set up, talk. We're pretty stout at the moment.
Yeah, and you're going to only have like one Ford out of every 5 or 6 Chevrolets because they're so common. But you yourself, you just stand out as a stud and a stallion, and we appreciate you for that, man. And congratulations on that second place finish. Now, next week, the Roval, I mean, like you said, that's not your strong suit, but surely you're going to give yourself a shot. So, how many laps you think you're going to put in preparation for that one?
I'm gonna put in a little bit. A track like that, any road course. I tried to aim for top 10 at a road course. I'm satisfied with the top 10. But in the playoffs, I'll probably have to perform a little bit better. And taking this momentum, the second place at Talladega, I could probably, push myself to do a little bit better. But yeah, I just I gotta stick with Brandon, Josh, and Brian. Where their markers are, and hopefully I can turn a top 10 track into possibly a top 5 track.
Well, definitely we'll be rooting for you, man, and good luck to you. Before we let you go, who you shouting out for your second place finish here tonight?
Of course, Paradigm Motorsports, Brandon, Josh, Brian, all amazing drivers, help each other out a lot. Southern Spiral Pipe and ISCA, Kenny, and Brian Britt and you, Big Al, for putting on an awesome show.
Well, hey, we're just talking about what you guys are doing, man, and that's all. Yeah, that's all I always say. Don't party too hard, bud. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Alrighty, that was Chris Johnson, of course, driver of the 99 machine, finished in second place. Next driver is the one that finished one position better, the winner, Brandon Pasalaco. I mean, you were quiet, I'd say, all race long. I mean, we did not really see. I mean, we saw you. You were up with your Paradigm brothers, but you didn't really lead a whole lot of laps until the end there off of pit road. I mean, what did you do to be able to kind of get up in that lead? I mean, it seemed like Brian and Chris, I do believe, kind of came off first, but then you were able to kind of jump up in front of them.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't get to lead many laps today because Josh Alter took them all from me. So I appreciate that, Josh. But joking aside, it was a great day for him. He got 2 stage wins, I believe, and that was huge for him in the playoff standings. Yeah, in that last cycle there, Brian and Chris were able to get off pit road before Josh and I. Josh and I were using so much fuel up on that, run before the pit stops, so they were able to do a little bit more, a little less gas. And then I just, it was nice working with Gitter for once. Usually we always had to compete against each other, so it was nice working with him. And I just followed him on the high side, and were able to make the pass, I believe, and kind of just settled in and tried our best to work together with the rest of the boys.
Yeah, and kind of coming to the end there, the last few laps. I mean, you were working with Gitter to probably get the lead, but after that, it definitely seemed like he was trying to kind of jump into y'all's lane, and kind of trying to throw some blocks and stuff like that to try to see if he could kind of get you guys to push him. And didn't seem like you guys wanted to do that, huh?
Yeah, no, obviously Patrick's a phenomenal driver. It was nice for once to feel like maybe we had the upper hand on him a little bit just because we had the numbers. I know DCI didn't run, and there wasn't many EPI guys in that lead pack, so it was great racing. It was a blast, super clean for the most part. And yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the teamwork with Josh, Brian, and Chris, I wouldn't have been up there at the end. So I appreciate those guys, and we did a good job working together.
No, that you did, and of course, this is going to lock you into, of course, the next round. I do believe the round of 8. So definitely a really good, solid performance here for sure. What was the preparation process like for you guys? I mean, it seemed like teamwork was pretty much, I think, the main strength that you guys had here.
Yeah, definitely. We did a good job at Daytona. I believe we finished 1, 2, 3 there a couple weeks ago. So we kind of already had a rhythm down. So in terms of practice, we just needed to make sure we had setups underneath us that we felt comfortable maneuvering or making quick decisions and being able to put the car where we need it. We just have a really good yeah, we just have a good rhythm together when we get to these plate tracks. And we saw EPI do it. They dominated one of the other super speedway races early in the year where they protected the middle groove, the high lane. And that was the main priority on those last 10 laps. The guys and I were like, I'm not letting them get to my right rear corner panel and dumping all that air. So we just stuck to the high side on the last few laps, and it worked out for us. So
Oh, it definitely seemed like it did. So definitely a great job to you, man. You led 18 laps, you won the race, and locked yourself in. You've kind of been one of the championship 4 favorites, I'd say for sure, and it might even be 3 other or 4 Paradigm drivers in the championship. Well, we don't know how this is going to play out. This is going to be so curious to see how it works. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Your prediction: who's the final 4 are going to be? You think?
you can't. Well, what I'm supposed to say is all 4 Paradigm
That's
Motorsports
right.
drivers, right? But obviously Gitter and DeCiani are super competitive. I mean, the Mullins have had great weeks. I don't think today went that well, but they have been showing outstanding speed. Kenny and Greg are always up there as well. So it anybody can go and win, any race. So I'm just hopefully I'll be lucky enough and fortunate enough to make it to the final round. If not, I'll give it hell in this round of 8 and see what we got.
All right, Brandon. Well, that was a great non-answer. I appreciate it.
I got you. I got you.
Alrighty. Next week, the Roval. I mean, how you feeling about that? I know you kind of. I've heard you say it before. I think you don't see yourself as being the greatest road course racer, but you still are competent. What do you think that's going to look like?
Yeah, it's been weird this year. I used to pride myself on being good at like the mile and a half, and I think those types of racetracks are the worst for me. And the best ones this year have been the super speedways and the road courses. I think I've finished top 5 in all of them so far. So I look forward to these races, on which I know a lot of people don't. And in terms of road course racing, I'm not the greatest. Gitter and DeCiani are phenomenal there. I just try to come out of there with a third, fourth, or fifth place finish. Schaffner's also really good at road course racing. Him and I, do a lot of the endurance racing a lot. So him and I are pretty much on the same level there. So I'm looking forward to it. The Rebel's a great time. Just like Gitter, I live here in Charlotte, and I think this is the last time we're going to be at the Rebel for some time. So let's go have fun and let it rip.
Well, we look forward to seeing it for sure, Brandon. Who could we give a shout out to after this big win?
Yeah, absolutely. Just again, give a shout out to the Paradigm Motorsports boys, Brian, Chris, and Josh. Phenomenal teamwork. It was really great to have a performance like that working together. So the chemistry has been great with those guys. I want to give a shout out to Kenny and everything he does for ISCA. The rest of the drivers in the field, the car size is getting bigger as the weeks go on. So Jenny's doing an excellent job recruiting, and I hope people are tuning in and watching how much fun we're having. And then, of course, thank you to you, Brian, and Big Al for everything you guys do in the booth. It's much appreciated, and we enjoy it.
All right, Brandon. Well, thanks as well for putting on such a great show out there. Make it easy for us, that's for sure, Brandon. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Alrighty, that was Brandon Pasalacqua, driver of the 6 machine. Got a Paradigm 1-2 with Chris Johnson as well. And, of course, Patrick Gitter had to come spoil the fun. Definitely, he got himself a very impressive third-place position. Big Al, final thoughts here at Talladega, your old stomping grounds. How'd you like it tonight?
I'm gonna tell you what, it does not disappoint. It was not a race, it was Talladega. Congratulations to the winner, Paradigm guys, excellent showing. A lot of teams out there, a lot of promise, man. Some guys just had some tough lucks tonight, but next week you get a whole another shot at it. We get to turn left and right, and we're gonna do it at a place that I think everybody is starting to like a little bit. That's the Roval. Can't wait till then. Until then, man, it's just been great.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely a great race here at Talladega. We're going to see what everybody can do at the Roval next week. Going to be, pretty much the exact opposite of Talladega. We're going to see some rights and some lefts, some that brake pedal being used. We didn't see that brake pedal being used very much here tonight, that's for sure, as these guys took some high-octane Probably going to have trouble sleeping here tonight after this race. I tell you, I'm going to have trouble sleeping after watching it for sure. My heart rate was quite high at some points, especially on some of these restarts and how crazy it got with the 3-wide action. But I definitely was very impressed with the performance there from Paradigm, performance from Patrick Gitter. I got to give a shout out as well to Miller Bonds, able to come up there, finish 5th place. But one of the drivers I really want to give a huge shout out to, almost even was in contention to win, was new driver to the series, Jerry Walters, coming in here and showing up and getting himself a top 10. I mean, 7th place. He could have easily gotten a top 3, possibly, if he had fared a little bit better. Everybody kind of hung him out, but it is what it is. I want to give him a big shout out. And of course, if we had seen a caution, we could have seen this race turn into a completely different picture for sure. But fortunately for the Paradigm guys, it all worked out and they played the strategy perfect. Do want to give a shout out to everybody out there that tuned in here tonight. Of course, Kenny Powell as well for putting on just such a phenomenal league and recruiting some of the best drivers on the iRacing service pretty much. And of course, big shout out to you as well, Big Al, for always being the best partner in crime here on the ISCA that I pretty much have. Of course, make sure you tune in next week. We're going to be at the Charlotte Roval. We're going to be doing some left and some rights. 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the broadcast will start. Race itself will go green flag a little after 9:30, so make sure you tune in. That's going to be a cut race. We're going to see who goes home, who stays in. It's all going to be next week on the ISCA. We'll see you then.